Sports never stops.
Yay, sports.
WKRK-FM and HD1 Cleveland Heights. Tell Alexa to play 92.3 The Fan. It's free.
I love touchdowns.
An Odyssey sports station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
This 2020 Sports brought to you by the Akron Rubber Ducks, the AA Eastern League affiliate of the Cleveland Guardians. Affordable family fun. The Guardians had their series finale against Detroit postponed on Sunday because of rain. The game will be made up as part of a day-night doubleheader September 4th. Guardians taking the first two games this past weekend series. 6-0 against the Tigers this season. Guardians off today begin a three-game series at Milwaukee against the Brewers tomorrow night. The White Sox beat the Dodgers on Sunday 6-4. They lead the Guardians by 1 percentage point for first place in the AL Central. Guardians third baseman Jose Ramirez suffered a broken hamate bone in his left hand on Saturday. On Sunday, Guardians skipper Stephen Vogt said a surgery date not yet been set. Vote on how the club's taking the news. Ramirez getting hurt.
This group is so resilient. We know the hit of not having Jose for the next little bit, but it's other guys' opportunity to step up. Gabby's back, play third base. Obviously, he's not fully worked up to playing every day, but just have to be mindful of how often he plays to work him back into being able to play every day.
Ramirez is expected to need 5 to 7 weeks to recover once the surgery is done. Ramirez suffered the same injury to his right hand in 2019 and was back in action in about a month. Jose Ramirez not the only Guardian suffered an injury during Saturday's game. Chase DeLauder and Angel Martinez also got hurt. DeLauder's in with a right rib cage injury. The club's still waiting test results to determine the full extent. Meanwhile, Martinez in with a bruised left foot. The hope is he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow night against Milwaukee. Stanley Cup Finals Game 6. Carolina wins in Vegas last night 3-0. Carolina wins the series in 6 games and claims the Stanley Cup for the first time in 20 years. After trailing the series 2-1, the Hurricanes' defense held the Knights to just 5 goals over the final 3 games. Carolina going 16-3 during its run to the Stanley Cup. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next, after the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Your day isn't complete unless you know how Cleveland fits into the national sports scene. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Ramirez doubled and scored in the third. He flipped a double down the right field line. This one's back to the netting goes Dingler. He has room and makes the play. 1 down. It looks like Jose Ramirez has now left the game for Cleveland.
Yeah, I won't go into what they think the injury may be, but Jose's leaving. He tried to go back out. They told him to stop.
This group is so resilient. We know the hit of not having Jose for the next little bit, but it's other guys' opportunity to step up. Gabby's back, play third base. Obviously, he's not fully worked up to playing every day, but just have to be mindful of how often he plays to work him back into being able to play every day.
Yeah, I felt something out of the normal after I finished the swing, and I heard some pop, and obviously my hand started hurting, so I knew there's something off there.
Do you have any idea time frame for Jose? What it would take?
I mean, this is typically 5 to 7 weeks, so that's 5 to 7.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio. 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Guardians TV. This sucks, and they're going to have to find a way to get over it. Morning.
But they're a team that typically finds a way, right?
Oh, okay. I like your outlook on this. All right, here we go. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
However, sucks to see that news that happened on Saturday. I was driving, and it was crazy because I heard it, and it was like, well, you called me this morning. I didn't even realize you called me earlier. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, you didn't even say you called me. I heard about DeLauder, and I'm just like paying it. And then Jose Ramirez is going to come out, and then like it was like this weird thing that was going on in the fifth, and I'm like, because of course they had to move Rhys Hoskins, and then the first thing that happened after they moved Rhys Hoskins, ball got hit right over his head. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. This is obviously going to be a challenge for him. But you could hear it where it's not. To me, it's obviously it can be devastating. It just isn't devastating yet. Now, we might find out later in the year because of new information. Yes, Jose Ramirez could have been out, and it was devastating, but we can't just say that yet. I think that anybody who's poo-pooing it, though, I just don't think they're paying very close attention to things here because you have guys that he protects in the order. I've said before, if you get guys who are better in that order around him, he sees better to hit. Now that he's not there, I think things become much more difficult for guys that are around him and much more difficult for the young guys that are on this ball club. I think you probably feel the same way I do. It's a serious situation where if you're out for a month, it's not where he's out for the year. It's not that. It's not a lost season, even though he was starting to come together there. It's not a full lost season, but obviously, if you struggle over the next month, and their schedule is difficult in the month of June. It's one of the toughest strength of schedules in the month of June in baseball. This is going to be a hell of a test for them to keep their head above water while he's out.
Well, what in the meantime, obviously it goes without saying everybody has to just pick things up as best they can.
But I don't know how they pick things up other than, it's see ball, hit ball.
Well, right.
How do you pick things up? Okay,
so just on paper, this is one of the worst seasons that Jose has been having, right? As a pro, you have to go way back. He was struggling. We thought maybe there were some indications he was getting out of the slump, but overall, if you just go by the raw data, the raw numbers, it was already kind of a struggling season where he was trying to get out of it. The thing about Jose is you just always trust him that eventually he was going to be able to do it.
Yes.
And so that's the one disappointing part of this is he's going to be denied that opportunity. And then what? Is he going to be starting at square one right when he gets back? And then people that know this injury, have talked about this injury, say what? It severely hampers your power or has the chance to. I mean, that stinks. So I just try to think about this team, they're not going to have Jose forever anyway, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
I think that, in a weird way, when in the NBA, if a guy like Jose Ramirez goes down in the regular season, you're like, well, regular season doesn't really matter. Now, you get a bunch of guys that can try to step up and see that come playoff time, maybe you'll turn a negative into a positive that these guys have had those reps and all that. Well, I don't think it's all that different in baseball, especially in this division. That's where I'm trying to find some positivity out of it, because you're just not going to replace him.
Yeah.
And what kind of figure he is. I mean, that's the thing about Jose. It's not just what he brings at the plate. It's that he shows up every day.
I do think it's also an opportunity here for, you mentioned you're not going to replace what he brings every day. You're not. But I do think it's an opportunity for guys to step up and kind of help take the reins of this ball club, because it can't always be on him. One of the major criticisms that have brought in Jose, and I've been you've been defensive of him as well about this. One of the major criticisms of him has been the postseason performance. Yeah. And I think about it right now, where the reason I bring it up is that anytime you get to the postseason, especially without Lindor, looking historically, anytime you've gotten to the postseason, it's been difficult on him because he's expected to basically carry the entire lineup 4 times a game. And if he doesn't get a hit the time he's up, it almost feels like the next time around is going to be wasted. And then if there's guys actually on and he doesn't get a hit, well, then you're just in this pit of despair. And so there's more on him. Like if he were protected in other lineups, like with other veterans, I think the results would be much more different. Now with him out, it makes me think of that, because it's like, okay, who's going to step up and help? Who's going to help take the mantle of things? Because it can't always just be Jose and that's it, or we're just not going to do anything after he decides to hang him up here, hopefully in many, many, many years. But when you look at what he brings, it's not just obviously what he brings to the plate and what he brings to the field. It's also going to be a standard of leadership. So who helps take that standard of leadership, really, is what I'm asking you. Because I think we have to find out from Anthony Castrovince later on this morning at 9:20, who steps more into a leadership role with this club as they navigate the next month and a half. I don't think he's going to be like Juan Soto and not around them at all, but I do think that, there's going to have to be some rehab and time taken away. You're probably not making the road trips, things like that. And then he's probably going to be with them during a lot of the homestands that are here over the next month and a half. So who helps this team keep their head above water from a mental and emotional standpoint, I think is one of the great challenges that they have, because there is talent on this team, no doubt about it. But who helps them stay above it? Because have you checked the June schedule?
No, I didn't. I didn't realize until you said it.
So, Owen had mentioned, it was because Owen had mentioned it last year how easy the schedule was. Owen made people pay attention to the strength of schedule, and so I got a text from a friend back in May saying, "Have you looked at strength of schedule?" I said, "No." They go, well, they got to stack the wins all they can because June's going to be tough. They're at Milwaukee starting tomorrow. They're at Milwaukee. That's a first-place team.
They do not face The Miz, though, so they sneak past him.
Oh, Jacob Mizorowski. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. I was like, what's he saying for a second? All right, so
not the wrestler.
They're at Milwaukee. Then they're at Houston. Houston's not the same Houston they were before. Then they're at Chicago. Big long road trip. Chicago's obviously tough out now. Seattle's back in first place, even though they scuffle a little bit. Texas, I believe, is above 500. Then you're against Chicago to start off the month of July. Like it's very difficult here over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, as they go through the month of June. So if you can play 500 ball, like that's kind of where I'm at. If you could play 500 ball, win a series, even if you have to lose a series, fine. It's basically now it's just like, how can I hold things down until Jose comes back? Yes.
Well, just some numbers to try to keep some positive, maybe keep you in the right headspace, right? If you go on that same strength of schedule tracker that I was looking at last year, right now they're 29th of 30 on hardness in their schedule, right?
That's good.
Now the White Sox are 28th, so they're right there too with their schedule. The other thing, I looked last year, same time last year, June 13th, they were 9.5 back.
Yes.
They're not. They're tied for first.
And they were
now.
in the process of digging themselves into a deeper hole.
Well, because what you're going to find, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, 500 ball, you said, well, if they could play 500 ball. I think 500 ball the rest of the way might have won them this division.
Well,
like
possibly, yes. But I think losing
especially
a guy like that.
If you win against the White Sox, right? Knock them out.
But I also think losing a guy like that, you're going to have your other standings of how people are going to feel about it. Like John had asked last week, why don't you guys overreact to, or why don't you guys get in fights over games? Like very rarely do we get in single game arguments, and a lot of it is either A, and it has been this way in the past. Some people just ain't watching them very close, or B, it's just the type of organization where, for me to sit there and lose my mind on June 6th about a loss that they may have, considering that there's so much more left to go, considering as they've made people who get upset about a June 6th loss look foolish later on, they've bought that time and that mental currency with me to go right on ahead and do it.
Benefit of the doubt.
But now
you earn a benefit of the doubt over time.
But now I think it's even more important. Like, all right, yeah, there's probably going to be a valley here, and there's going to be a lot of reaction to that valley. How do they keep their head above water throughout this entire time? Like that's just how I'm thinking through the rest of the month. I mean, throughout the coming back from July 4th weekend, throughout that, like how do they just stay 500 and maintain that? So it puts more pressure on the bullpen. It puts more pressure on starting pitching. Puts more pressure on everything. I mean, he's the unequivocal leader of the baseball team. He's the unequivocal leader of the franchise when it comes to the players, when it comes to the organization, when it comes to the fans. Like everything about him is. He is everything the organization is. So without him, how do they respond to this challenge is going to be the major question for Guardians fans.
Well, and Gabe Arias is going to be a big linchpin in this, right? I mean, how he comes up because,
true.
You know what, the thought is most likely that he is going to be getting those reps at third. You know, you're in a situation where I think the timing can actually work, and I have reason to believe that he might be well equipped to handle that position. No, I mean, I'm not as down in the dumps about that. Like defensively, I think they have a chance to be, just fine there. And then offensively, people wanted to see him in the lineup anyway, as soon as they could, as soon as he could get back.
Yeah,
and now this opens up the opportunity.
It does. It opens up a tremendous opportunity because second through third, Bazana, Rocchio's playing his ass off. It is an opportunity for Gabby Arias. I just look at the type of leadership that the organization has. I go, this is a natural spot for somebody young to help step into a role. You're never going to replace Jose Ramirez because I don't know if you're going to be comfortable giving anybody else that type of power. I mean, the man is easily the most powerful person in the organization other than the owner. And I think the owner would acquiesce to him in a lot of issues. He's easily the most powerful person in the organization other than Paul Dolan. So who steps in and helps take over leadership? Because I can't let the season go to hell just because it's not on Jose Ramirez. Like, this is going to be very telling of what the rest of the organization is, including the manager, Stephen Vogt. Because if they go down in the dumps, like tonight, yesterday might have been a little bit of a godsend. I didn't realize it was going to get that bad with the weather, so it was the right thing to do to postpone that game. I didn't know it was going to be that bad of weather, but it ended up being a godsend just because, like, all right, you do have some time now. You have 2 days to catch your breath before you go on the road to Milwaukee.
It's funny yesterday, just seeing instant reaction when
it's terrible.
Whenever they decide they're going to do that because of the weather and kind of a preemptive move, and the amount of fans that are like, they could get it in, and then you actually, if anybody was driving through that yesterday, they're like, no, they
couldn't have.
No, they probably couldn't have got that in. In fact, people, their lives might have been at risk.
You had to drive through it.
Dude, we played 2 games, my son's team, in Brunswick, and I was like, where are they canceling the game for? The weather's beautiful. And it hit immediately as soon as the last out of the second game, and I drove back from Brunswick. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible trying to make it back to Avon Lake.
Did it get you?
Yeah,
at home.
Yeah, we got caught. We were just trying to make coffee run, get the kids out of the house, and it was batten down the hatches.
I sat on the porch and just watched it roll in. That's what I did. It wasn't as bad near me as it was in other places. Like, we didn't lose power.
Weren't there like 70
once
miles an hour?
I started seeing the tops of the trees bend over and touch near the mid part of the tree, I was like, it's probably not good.
Yeah, you had huge,
probably get off the road.
By us, 100-year-old trees that were down.
Yeah. You had a lot of people lost power. It was really bad. We didn't get the brunt of it, but it was spooky rolling in. It rained pretty hard, but that was about it. But overall, it wasn't the worst experience ever. But yeah, it ended up being fortuitous just for the Guardians, just because they could take the day off. Then you have today off where you're traveling and then getting ready for the road trip coming up tomorrow. 216-474-0092. I really want to know, for a Guardians fan, and you can use this as pure entertainment as well. Basketball season's over. Baseball season's in full swing. Football season, you have the 5-week lull where anything that happens in news is probably really bad news, ugly news when it comes to football. Like, this is where it's supposed to take over. How much of a devastating blow is this for you? How much of a devastating blow do you think it can be for you? Because it can be a season ender. I don't think that you think, I think that you're with me on this. Because of the way the organization is, it's not a season ender. If we were Mets fans, I'd feel a lot differently, considering everything seems to go to hell. If we were a lot of other fan bases, I'd feel a lot differently. It's not a knock on Jose. It's not a knock on his standing. We know how important he is to the organization. We know how important he is to the city and to the fan base. But because of the type of organization they have, I can't say I'm I'm concerned because he's out. I'm upset because he's out. He's a fine player. He's one of the greatest to ever do it in a Cleveland Guardians uniform, in a Cleveland baseball uniform. That pointed out, it should not end your season. 216-474-0092. So a Jose Ramirez injury, where he's out with that hamate bone right near that pinky in that wrist, or on that pinky bone right near that wrist. How devastating can this be? 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to you guys on that. And did the Knicks change how we see the Cavs? Long-term, short-term. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
Hey, everybody. to you by Choice Cabinet. ChoiceCabinet.com.
Hey, it's Andy Baskin. 2026 is the year for that new kitchen. Get professional grade quality and factory direct pricing with Choice Cabinet. Tell your contractor you want Choice Cabinet or visit the Warrensville Heights showroom today. Start your dream project at ChoiceCabinet.com.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
720 Lima and I are going to have an argument over, I don't know if it's imperialism. Is it imperialism we're going to fight about?
It's just something I'm certainly not doing in another country if I go there.
I don't know which one it is.
It certainly has to do with capitalism.
It was, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I can. I don't know if I'm going to find you that crazy, but I'm surprised you can't believe that they are the people that have visited our fine country have been
the stuff they're doing
blown away by some of the experiences that they've
I just want to do this. You said something about living somewhere. And you're like, well, I'd love to live there. Yeah, because you're visiting. We just had that conversation.
Very
right?
different.
Because you're visiting. Once you got to live there and show up and do the Anthony Lima show live in St. Bart's or wherever you're at, it gets old.
I think it'd be different. And I think that there is I'm just going to say I think some people want the authentic American experience, and that's not just eating at Chili's. Okay? And so we'll find out coming up at 7:20 this morning. But, yeah, I did pay attention a little bit of what was going on there. Obviously, Friday I was indisposed, but still paid attention. 4-0. That was a nice win by the good old U.S. of A., and more of that coming up in Lima Likes coming up at 7:45. However, I think there's another thing that we didn't even bring up during the Jose conversation.
That you jinxed the entire rest of the season?
Beg pardon?
That Ken Carman is the reason that we're in this predicament to begin with.
I was figuring this would be brought up at 6:01. I'm surprised it took to 6:27, but go ahead and let it out. Go ahead.
Well, so what did Jose Ramirez do that he had never done before?
He took a picture with my son on Friday.
There you go.
He took a picture with my son on Friday.
And there you go.
It was Friday. Friday was when the photo was taken.
So you got some pretty good access.
He kept holding his hand though in the picture.
Yeah, you could already tell.
He was holding his hand. Yeah, he put his hand on my son's shoulder, and that's what did it.
Bony shoulder.
You ass! I knew it was. I was expecting a bunch of messages on because his birthday was on Saturday. Well, the family was coming over Saturday, and I couldn't take them all to the baseball game, so I figured, what the hell? And we went on Friday. And Friday is when he got to meet Jose Ramirez. I didn't.
And so Jose came into the stands, or how did you?
We got down there a little early, and
they let everybody.
That's crazy because Friday was my wife's actual birthday. We went to the game, and she did not meet Jose.
Jose didn't come over.
Well, it's not like he gets to meet Jose every time he goes to a ball game. He's been to many other ball games where there was absolutely
what player
no
did he meet that day?
Early access.
Yeah.
Well, has he met a player before? No, I don't think he has. I don't think he has. This was his first. No, technically he met Parker Messick. So we'll see how well Parker Messick's next start goes. And he met Carlos Baerga, and Carlos Baerga doesn't have
played a game since then.
Yeah.
Did your kid have to pay $20 to go see Carlos too?
No, he did not have to pay $20 to go see Carlos. He was very nice man. So with Owen and I have a mutual friend that I did not expect for an arrangement like that to be made. That was a very cool arrangement to be made.
Hell yeah, it would be.
But no, there was no jinxing. You do this, and then it turns up on the internet. It's the same thing as the Ohio State thing.
Well, do you believe
and there are people
in
legitimately
like
who think that I've seen people post or take screenshots of the post on your Reddit thing that you have there. There are people who sincerely think I hate Ohio State because of you. Which I can't believe. If you guys don't believe anything else that comes out of this guy's mouth, but he says I hate Ohio State, and all of a sudden it's the most believable thing ever.
Ken, I guess just looking back, knowing what happened after the fact, would you have chosen, if there was even the slightest chance that he might go down with an injury that could cost him, what is it, 5 to 7 weeks?
5 to 7
Does
weeks.
the photo
anywhere from after the break until maybe August before he even starts rehabbing?
Does my son, could you guarantee that he wouldn't get hurt if my son didn't? Then of course I wouldn't have him take the photo.
Well, okay.
There's other opportunities to meet Jose
then your
Ramirez.
Kid doesn't have the photo.
Of course, I said the same thing when I had the opportunity to meet Dale Earnhardt.
Who says he'd do anything for his children.
I'm not going to put the Guardians at risk for him. Hell, no.
Does your kid feel bad
Then he
about
pissed
what
me
happened?
off real bad yesterday, so I started yelling at him about it. So, yeah, the honeymoon of the birthday moon is over.
You yelled at him about Jose's injury?
No.
Well, the internet, now that the internet knows.
Is
your kid on social media yet?
No, thank God. I think I'm going to do the England thing and not let him do it until he's 16.
Oh, good luck with that.
He's got 5 years.
Oh, he's going to find the internet.
I know. No, I know he's found the internet. I'm talking about social media.
Famously,
he's going to have accounts that you think he doesn't have, but he has them.
Oh, and famously, things our parents tried to keep from us at that age. Famously, we were able to avoid, right?
Of course.
It's a different time.
I rank those things.
Porn.
Well, there was the gun.
Pornography.
The gun.
Oh, the gun was number one
I found
for you?
the gun.
Whoa!
You should have seen me. I was like Fredo.
I might have tapped the Rockies once or twice before then.
My old man had me believe it. He hated guns. It wasn't around guns. It wouldn't allow a gun in his house for 40 years. Guess what we found? Gun.
Gun.
I didn't find it when I was a kid. I just expected there was no reason looking.
I found my aunt's gun.
You found Buzz's gun?
Yeah, my grandmother, who's had a stroke.
You got Annie Oakley over there?
Did it have pearl handles?
She was kind of confined to the sofa, okay? Or the recliner. She was confined.
She keep it behind the couch?
So I just went running into
between the cushions. She'd pull out a gun on you?
The closets and everything. I mean, I was going to find whatever was in there. The porn stash. Do people understand how much space that took up?
Oh, God. Well, it depended on how much porn your dad had.
Bountiful. Well, you said dad. Why do you assume that's dad?
Oh, Mom had porn.
Why?
Mom's old porn.
I'm assuming they were watching that together.
I mean, what the Limas did in the privacy of their own home is not for me to.
Apparently, that's what kept the marriage together until it fell apart.
I liked how they kept it spicy.
I mean, we did not live in a big house like that, and it wasn't just one or two. There was a whole, basically, soap opera of. I told you the one. We looked it up. We looked up not the actual video, but we looked up the titles.
You dedicate 100 square feet to a modest house in Chesterland.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna get found.
But you're gonna find it.
Yes.
You're gonna find it. So anyway.
Yeah, they go looking. Now they ain't going to find it. There ain't nothing to find. That's the difference in our generation and our kids' generation. I mean, unless I'm really a collector of fine antique pornography, which I'm not.
My kids got into the cloud.
I mean, if there was like a special one that I guess I don't know if is there like special Playboys or something like that? Playboy really isn't pornography. Anyway, I'm sorry. We got way off track
for the
here.
Stories,
way off track.
I just lost half our baseball team.
No, you're thinking
gotta do anything.
You're thinking of Penthouse. Penthouse wrote the stories. Okay, Playboy had the articles. Playboy taught you how to dress, and then you found out like the belt was $600. So it's like, well, I can't buy the belt. What the hell was the point of all this? The body jokes, the interviews. I when I had a subscription, I remember there was a great interview with Benicio del Toro in there. It was fantastic. I enjoyed all of it. Yeah, of course I had a subscription when I was in high school. I mean, but I enjoyed the articles. I'm not going to sit there. It was the internet age. I could go find all I wanted to in droves.
We had the J.C. Penney catalog. That's all we could afford.
Sears catalog, J.C. Penney catalog. Lane Bryant. It was all there for you.
Lane Bryant was for everybody, but
yeah,
it's just Mervin's for me.
Mervin's?
Oh, yeah.
The hell is Mervin's?
All we got.
Was that a department store down in Oklahoma?
It was bad.
Okay,
more west.
Now you can tell we're really excited to talk about Jose Ramirez being injured. 216-474-0092. All right. No,
what's tougher to come back from? The 15 and a half games last year or Jose's injury?
Finding the
No, it's the 15 games. Or if they find your stash and you have to explain that to everybody. I think if you find your dad's stash, you just keep that between yourself and you and God. And that's about it, because that just leads to a weird conversation. I do believe, though, for this team, that there is going to be a decision that's made here. Because I told you there was the big brain theory when they were struggling last week against the Yankees, kind of scuffling there. There was the big brain theory that it might be a decent thing that they're not winning these games because it makes them a little bit more desperate at the trade deadline to go out there and make a big trade to make a move. Now, I think that there is possibilities here, and this is a big conversation for Castro Vince at 920. We got to start with Jose, but really there's another conversation to it about what they do at the trade deadline. And what are teams like the Guardians, what are their goals during the trade deadline of because you possibly have a work stoppage coming up? Is it damn the torpedoes, or are there ramifications out of this that we don't really see right now? And a team that has been notoriously tight or have been sellers at the trade deadline, exactly how are they going to react? Now, without Jose Ramirez, does this make them more likely to make moves? Excuse me, my voice almost broke there. Does it make them more likely to make moves, or does it make them less likely to make moves? Because I think as of right now, a lot of fans, you want to be excited at the trade deadline. You want to signal from your team that you're all in. You know exactly that a lot of people are going to want them to make moves at the trade deadline. But does Jose Ramirez's injury prohibit something like that? Because maybe if there was a move to be made here over the next couple of weeks, maybe that gets pushed back to see how this team responds.
So the different part about this season, because of DeLauder and Bazana, and I know DeLauder also injured, and ever since the power surge in the first few weeks of the year, he's definitely come back to earth and then some. But the difference this year is you've got young, exciting players that are occupying spots, as opposed to in years past, they had, let's just say it, they had Jags. Like, they had guys that were just the cheapest of all time, fixes
Trying
for
to
whatever.
Get one more season.
Yeah, one more season. So it was obvious, like, hey, they need to get that guy out of there.
Yes.
And they need to see what's available. This time, you'd be messing with guys that you figure are going to be permanent fixtures, like that are so young, right? Like, you're.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought Rocchio for a long time was a Jag, and now it's like, man, that ninth in the season. I mean, doesn't he lead the American League in RBIs out of the 9-hole? Which I understand is kind of sounds like a weird stat to bring up, but for a guy who was hitting that poorly at one point in his career,
don't stay in the 9-hole when you're hitting well, and he's refused to move.
He wants to stay there.
The one guy comfortable there.
That play he made on Friday night was amazing. 216-474-0090. The play of the year that I've seen in live. I'll tell you that right now. Coming up at 9:20 this morning, Anthony Castrovents. I want to ask him those questions. Obviously, what do they do? And if they do go on a bit of a heater, if there's no Jose and they go on a bit of a heater, does it make them more likely to make a trade, or does it make them less likely to make a trade here? Even though that June is a very tough month when it comes to their schedule. Lima likes at 7:45, where I don't know if anybody's excited for the Knicks, but you got to feel good for this one guy. At 7:45. And speaking of the Knicks, did they change how we see the Cavs' future? That at 6:43 on the Fan. Extend Technologies.
with no payments for 12 months, plus an additional $500 off your project. Call 877-98-PELLA or visit PellaCleveland.com.
You can now watch The Fan live on YouTube. Catch The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima from 6 till 10 a.m. Baskin and Phelps 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin from 2 to 7 p.m. Each and every weekday. It's free. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan on YouTube.
It's the first hour of the show. We have to get this out there. James Harden was arrested over the weekend. Unlawful carrying of weapon was the charge. Are you concerned before we go on to other things?
Did you get the same jokes in your text threads that I did about somebody actually got popped for that in Texas?
I didn't get any text threads about it. I didn't get nothing.
That was, and I wish I could read you some of the jokes that come in.
That's wonderful.
So it doesn't seem like it's all that serious, right? Like,
no, didn't he get out for $500?
Yeah, he got bonded for $500.
Yeah, so, but it's the first hour of the show. It's the first hour after the weekend. We have to be on the record of whether or not we think that this is some giant ass deal or anything like that.
Well,
anything bad.
I heard over the weekend, as you know, we have substantial local programming on the weekend. We don't just punt. Like some of the places.
Some of the other program we'd have to have is so bad we have to go local with it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So I heard Padone on with Daryl yesterday, wondering if this could be used to get us out of the contract.
What?
And I was so confused. I was so confused at just a lot of what I saw about James Harden in general, because immediately they went back to him versus Jalen Brunson. And I'm like, well, is San Antonio getting out of all their players too because they couldn't guard Jalen Brunson?
No, they said it was an opportunity to get out of the James Harden business.
Well, Padone said, can't the Cavs just admit they made a mistake with the Harden trade? And I'm like, well, Harden got you further
to
than
the Eastern Conference Finals. You weren't getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. You probably weren't beating Toronto.
I'm so amazed at the level of conversation when it comes to the NBA that doesn't exist in the other sports. Like when you lose in the Super Bowl or the AFC NFC championship games, the home teams, they don't bombard their local radio with get rid of everybody. But
usually not, no.
But yet in the NBA, that's what they're saying about San Antonio, about certain players. They're saying that, and they don't do that in baseball, and they don't do that in the NFL.
I don't like. Yeah, De'Aaron Fox is the butt of a bunch of jokes or something like that. But I don't think.
By the way, who was playing injured?
Yeah, I don't think that's but we don't like to recognize that. It's still a league where you talk a lot of trash about guys. I think it's become more rings culture than anything else out there.
Yeah, quite literally, is if you like Karl Anthony Towns before this year was a losing player. Then 2 games into the NBA Finals was quite literally, Kenny, they were talking about him as a Hall of Famer.
Well, I remember.
As a Hall of Famer. And then when they lost a game, when it wasn't going to be a sweep, and then when Karl Anthony Towns couldn't stay on the floor, it devolved right back into Karl Anthony Towns, a losing player.
Well, did you feel, though? Well, I heard some of the discourse about Victor Wembanyama yesterday, and some people said they were disappointed.
John ran in and said, because he was the biggest choke artist we've ever seen in the NBA.
He said that?
And I'm like,
it's his second year.
They got to the finals.
It's his second year.
In his third year, right?
Was LeBron the biggest choke artist when we went and we got swept in the finals in 2007?
Right.
Well, because this is Victor Wembanyama's second year. Like to me, the whole I got it's a complete team victory. Give the Knicks their credit. I'm not one of the people. The Kenny Atkinson stuff was stupid, and then some of the other stuff that was being said about San Antonio dictating the pace and stuff. No, the Knicks went out and they won the series, okay? That being pointed out there, it's only the second season. So I do think that there's a lot with Victor Wembanyama to come, and I think that this will probably make them a much tougher team to deal with in the future, because I think that one of the biggest differences was this is a team that had been to the playoffs multiple times, had a couple of disasters that played out for them with the New York Knicks, and I kind of wondered, and I want to ask you because of that, does it make us feel like we are closer than we've been in the past, or do we feel like we're further away because of what the Knicks just did? Because we made it further. We got to the Eastern Conference Finals. We got swept by the Knicks, and then the Knicks went out and got San Antonio in 5.
Yeah, because it took them 7 to get past Toronto. Never should have taken them 7
to get past Detroit.
Yeah, so nobody feels great about the run. Nobody feels great, which is what you guys told me before the playoffs. You guys were all right You guys said you weren't in love with this team, and then I'm like, yeah, they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Don't care. No chance to win a championship. And so it's really hard in this sport to get better. I will tell you that in New York, the thought was a year ago they had no chance to win anything.
Well, that's why they fired Tom Thibodeau. That's why they made the trade that they had made.
And so they hired Mike Brown, and people said, well, that's not gonna be a difference. And then they won 52 games this year in the regular season, and nobody had the Knicks winning a championship.
You feel better. It seems like you're setting this up to feel better.
It's weird. But at the same time, there still fundamentally are some issues with the Cavs that make me think it's going to be really hard. Thing is, I thought that about the Knicks, too. I thought there was no chance the Knicks could win a championship with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson defensively. I thought they were not going to be able to get over those things. And they did. They went on an all-time heater. I would not have picked them to beat Oklahoma City. I gave them more of a chance against the Spurs, but I would not have picked them against Oklahoma City. I would have definitely picked them to lose to Oklahoma City. And today, I don't know if they would have beaten Oklahoma City. But it doesn't matter. They didn't have to play Oklahoma City. So I guess one thing we have to be a little more open to in the NBA, and 8 straight years of 8 different champions kind of has to have you figuring that is, well, you can't be so definitive on these things beforehand.
It made me feel a little bit better, or at least a little more centered about what the Cavaliers are doing in certain ways. Now, obviously, James Harden getting arrested in a $100 bond or $500 bond or whatever it was, that's not... I don't think that that's a reason to get into anything. I don't understand why that was brought up over the weekend, but that's somebody else's conversation. I didn't hear it. It's not mine. What I'm pointing out is this, is that, yeah, it made me feel like we were closer, but it also made me feel in a way like I'm more desperate to make a move. I'm more desperate to help out Donovan Mitchell. I'm more desperate to do a couple of things here that is going to make us a closer contender to what we are. Because I think we have a bunch of veterans on this team that have paid the price the same way I look at what New York has been through. I mean, they didn't just show up in the postseason and then go on this run and win the title. I mean, they've been in the postseason now, 4 straight years, 5 straight years. I know they had the 1 year and then they had the 1 year out and then they were back in and they've been in the postseason ever since. So we're looking at 4 of the last 5 years, and they finally break through. And I'm going, well, we've been in the postseason 5 years ourselves. Like, maybe we just need to break through with one more move, and it doesn't necessarily maybe have to be Giannis or LeBron. I beg your pardon on such a thing. I know I took up a lot of space, but that's kind of what I'm thinking there.
Yeah, and the Knicks, they made their moves. They used all their assets to go get Bridges and OG Anunoby, and there were people all along the way saying they're not good enough. They're not good enough to win a championship. There's no way that they can win a championship. Nobody really took... Remember, this was the JV...
And ended up being so great down the stretch.
The Eastern Conference Finals were the JV. That's what everybody said.
And remember, there were a lot of people who were nasty about Mike Brown in the second half of the year because he had all those different lineups that he was trotting out there, a la the same way the Cavs were kind of doing it, but they were having to do it because of necessity. But you had Mike Brown trotting out all those different lineups, trying all those different things, and they were a problem for everybody that played in the postseason. 216-474-0092. Well, I want to ask you guys, do you think we're closer or further away after the Knicks won? Do you think the Cavaliers are closer because of how well the Knicks played against San Antonio and won their first championship since 1973? And, if Donovan's mad about the Knicks, maybe he should take a page out of Jalen Brunson's book. I don't think he's going to like the page that I am thinking of here. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live in the Fan.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
you want to give him a shot and see what there is there before, you're likely to let him go after the year. Whereas with Shedeur, get him under contract for another 2 years after this one. Yes, you want to see what you've got, but I think there's a little bit less urgency on it.
Listen for the MMQB's Albert Breer, Tuesdays at 5:20 on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Well, if the Cavs want to do what the Knicks just did, maybe Donovan's got to take a page out of Jalen Brunson's book. Let me explain here in 3 seconds. Let me tell you, though, every Cavs conversation brought to you by the fine folks at Surfside Hard Iced Tea, who ask you to please enjoy that Surfside Hard Iced Tea responsibly. And when you go somewhere, you want an authentic experience. That includes the good old US of A. Lima was shocked by something he saw yesterday on the internet. We'll talk about that coming up at 7:22 this morning. Also, Lima likes at 7:45. So I asked you, does it feel like the Cavs are any closer? It does feel to me like the Cavs are closer. I do feel like they're closer to accomplishing the goal of winning a championship, but there's moves that need to be made. And I also think that there's a tough conversation that needs to be had. James Harden, I understand that there was the arrest that happened the other day, which really is not that big of a deal, but, we have to be on record about it. Fine. James Harden's taking a bit of a pay cut, right, to stay with this team, or he's giving them some wiggle room, some flexibility?
Yeah, he's the whole point of making, it's 2 points of making this move was you thought you were getting a player better, even at his age, than Darius, and check, he was, especially in the playoffs, believe it or not. Yes, he was better than Darius Garland had ever been, but that he also was going to make a lot less money than what Darius was going to make going forward, which was going to save you money, create flexibility.
So
yes.
we have a hard cap here, right, is what you're saying. We have a very basically hard cap is where we used to not, because I think some people are picking up on the NBA financials a little bit. Are we right or are we wrong? Because I got to bring up something to you, and I don't know. It's not going to it's not going to go over well. But I got to.
Yeah, the second apron. The second apron is something that you don't want to live above for very long because you get it's so penal, Kenny. It's very penal.
What if you've brought this up several times, and I think you've been setting me up to do this because you want me to take the bait, and I'm going to take the bait, and it's not going to be a very popular thing to say. You said Jalen Brunson would be the fourth highest paid Cleveland Cavalier?
Yeah, right now.
So you're saying he took a discount to be with the New York Knicks?
Yes. Pretty hefty one.
Well, you have one more year here, then you have a player option 27-28, right? And that offseason. Going into after the 27 season, after this coming season, you have an option coming up here, player option. Why can't I ask Donovan to maybe make things a little easier? Not easier on day. I'm not telling him to spare a billionaire some money. That's not it. But I have Jalen Brunson, who has taken a pay cut. He's the one, he might, Aaron Judge is not playing right now, so he might be the most popular guy in New York. They just won a championship for the first time since 1973.
Yeah, he has to.
Jalen Brunson is the most popular athlete in New York City. Jose Ramirez is the most popular athlete in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, he's well documented to have taken a pay cut. Everybody loves it when a rich professional athlete takes a pay cut. Doesn't matter if you're in New York City or Cleveland, Ohio. It just might mean a little bit more in Cleveland, Ohio, right? Is it too much to ask Donovan to consider, if we want to go to where we want to go as he ages a little bit, to consider taking a little less to make a little room for a little more for other people to maybe help us get over the hump here? Is that a possibility? I know it's not apples to apples, man. I know it's not. But I'm asking a question that I know I'm going to get hammered for, but I'm not saying that he's not good enough to make a lot of money. I'm not saying he's not a good basketball player. What I'm saying is that maybe he could take a page out of Jalen Brunson's book and cut a little bit of a discount off if it makes it for the greater good of the basketball team.
This is the thing that I guarantee is happening in a lot of cities when somebody like Jalen Brunson wins it, and there is that pay cut.
Exactly. I have to have this conversation.
They are wondering, why can't our guy do that when nobody really does in the NBA? Like it's just so. It's so surprising when it happens.
Well, I'm not going to hammer him for taking the most money he can. Again, you're only going to be an athlete, and you can only make this type of money for so long in your life. That's fine. But if I see an example right then and there in front of us, and Jalen Brunson, who's beloved in New York City and is a great basketball player, taking a bit less so they could do a bit more with a second apron makes things very difficult on you, I'm just wondering maybe Donovan could do the same. He's not going to be getting any younger. and we're gonna need bigger guys, younger guys, something more dynamic to help out with the wing position. Like there are ways that you can make this make sense and it can work.
Although, the thing about them being in the second apron and they're gonna do what they can around the margins to get under that second apron. The problem is, even if, like, say, Donovan took a $15-20 million less than, market rate, because remember, if he opts out this year, the most they can pay him and what he'll most likely be looking for is $68 million a year. And then if he waits a year, which is dangerous, but if he waits, it's dangerous for both parties in this, because an injury could happen, or, he could become a malcontent, not happy, whatever. Like, the most he could get is north of 70 per year for 5 years. This would be 68 for 4 years. If he even took, let's say $15 million, what are you saying that you think he might be able to take? Because Jalen took $115 million less than what he could have gotten, and that money was then used.
If he was taking $15 million off the top, let's start there.
Yeah, times 4 would be $60 million.
Okay.
It might not actually free up any cap space. Like, you would have to have him take. Well, then you would have to have him take.
Well, wait a minute,
$40 million per year.
Then I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. I just said I don't need him to take a discount to help out Dan Gilbert. Like, that's not necessarily. I'm talking about helping out the team. If the cap's going to be so stringent and we keep making a big deal on all these guys, making money elsewhere, doing other things to accomplish the greater good, to win a championship here, I only want Donovan Mitchell. I would only ask Donovan Mitchell to take a pay cut if it helped out their overall situation with their roster. If it doesn't, then no, there's no reason to ask him to take a pay cut. Fine, go get $70 million. It ain't my money. I don't care.
That's what's so hard about where the Cavs are.
I'm just trying to make a way
relative to the Cavs.
Because it feels like we just keep hitting heavier and heavier ceilings. Like, we finally got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, but then you got swept. And then that team that swept you, they beat a team that nobody really thought they had a chance to beat. San Antonio. When they swept you, that people started to think they had a chance to beat San Antonio.
I thought it was like 50-50 with the Spurs.
But I did not think that they were going to beat San Antonio. They dispatched them in 5 games.
Yeah.
So it feels like, could you beat San Antonio? Probably not. You probably couldn't have beaten Oklahoma City. And it obviously feels like for New York, they could have beaten anybody. So you are definitely the 4th best team in the NBA, which is a great place to stand.
Well, Vegas has us as the 9th. They have us with the 9th best championship odds heading into next year. 9th or 10th.
Well, I'm just going by what the results just happened 48 hours ago.
Yeah.
So I look at this differently, and I say, all right, you're a championship-level basketball team, but how do you break through and really contend for teams that can really compete for this championship? Because it does seem to be it's those 3, and then there's us.
The big swing items were going to be always Giannis and then LeBron. Like, just in terms of, there's plenty of reasons why you'd want LeBron. But part of it is you could have used LeBron in the playoffs. Like, nobody could dispute that. We had the worst wings of any of the real contenders of the playoffs. LeBron would step in and be able to do a lot of the stuff functionally that you didn't have. The issue is that it's not up to you on LeBron or Giannis. Like, Giannis could block, any deal. He could say, well, I'm not ever going to sign an extension with you, and then you would never make that deal. And then LeBron, we understand, he probably wants to stay in LA, but make the most amount of money possible. And the Lakers might balk at that. And now there are rumors of Golden State. In the end, it's not up to you on LeBron either. So it's hard to make those 2 biggest moves, your area of focus in the offseason, when they rely on those players in their decision making.
Well, yeah, so I think I got to find out a different way here over the next couple of years, not just over this offseason, even though I'm kind of hitting the panic button on things, going, hey, we got to do something this offseason, or we're not going to get to where we need to go. Or even during the trade deadline of next year, yes.
Now, maybe you would have said the same thing about Karl Anthony Towns, but Karl at least is a big who can shoot and rebound and showed he could play some defense, which I think some people
that move,
wondered about.
I'll tell you this, I didn't think highly of that move. I thought it was a little bit of a desperate move. Now, it's clearly paid off for them. Maybe this is the time where you do it because it's either put up or shut up time. Wasn't James Dolan pretty adamant over there that this was either going to be a sink or swim type of season with Mike Brown? I mean, title or bust. Yeah. They ended up winning the title here.
I'm just curious. Do we all agree that it's going to be almost impossible for them to get over their 2-guard setup if neither of them can really defend? and they have no wings.
I agree.
Like their best wing is Dean Wade, who should be like an eighth or ninth player.
And so I'm trying to find
ways. And yet for
ways.
us has to start.
I'm trying to find ways to make that situation better. And the only one of the few ways I can is that, okay, can Donovan take a bit of a discount here to help out our situation when it comes to the roster? If you're telling me that there's no realistic way for him to be able to do so, then I'm not going to ask him to take a pay cut. I don't need him to take a pay cut just to save Dan Gilbert money. I need, if we needed to, I would want him to take a pay cut to help out his chances to win a championship, to help our chances of enjoyment of a championship, which is a hard thing to do by what you're telling me over here. But I saw this and I go, man, we're not that far away. But because of the way the Knicks played and because of the talent that Oklahoma City has, because of the talent, like Victor Wembanyama is not going to get any worse. There's no way that it just feels like we're so far away, even though we're closer than a lot of teams in professional basketball. I can't believe that Vegas has us as the 9th best. I don't understand where that comes from.
They have us on par with basically Detroit. But that's
Detroit's going to get more experience and get better.
Yeah,
that's true.
There's talk they could go after Kyrie. There's all sorts of very interesting maneuvers because they need obviously more shooting, more scoring. But it's like the Cavs are going to be good this year. The Cavs are going to be really good. But do they have the setup that will get them through to pass the third round and into the fourth round? Like, it's hard right now to look at them and see how gassed Harden was, how gassed Donovan was, and not think it's going to go any differently next year when the Knicks are going to be there. The Celtics are clearly looking at either big wave moves or, banking on Tatum being healthy next year. Like, they're going to be in the way too.
From one front office to another, did Jose's injury over the weekend put pressure on the Guardians front office? And when you go somewhere, you want an authentic experience. That includes the good old US of A.
Anthony Lima for QC Kinetics. So raise your hand if you're excited about feeling older and faster than you should. Well, that's nonsense. Of course.
Carolina goes 16-3 during its run to the Stanley Cup. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Tone, did you watch any of the World Cup over the weekend?
Watched some of USA. I stopped at half because they were dominant. And
is that a blowout? What was it? 2-0 at half? What was it at half?
Yeah,
I didn't get to see it.
It was 3-0 at the half.
3-0. Well, that's a blowout. That's like being up 60-0 at half.
But it got me immediately thinking or asking other people who actually know the sport. Like, is Paraguay good? And John, you came in this morning and said
John came in both barrels.
I mean, they I don't know how good they are now, but like there was some stat where it was like this is their first World Cup in like 25 years.
All right, well that means they're good. I mean, you got to be good to be in the World Cup.
But do
you not?
Paraguay won their last 8 games, including Brazil and Argentina. Before that, now were they on the up and up?
Brazil is not as good this year. They tied Morocco this weekend.
Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't Brazil still be better in a down year than Paraguay? Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
I mean, that's true.
So they got to win over Brazil. So that's a quality win. All right, and then what was the other win you said that they had there, Tone? What was the other one?
Argentina.
The Argentines are good at the soccer. So why are you putting down Paraguay? Why are you trying to dump on the USA's victory there,
We're in
John?
no position to take anything for granted.
Yeah, well, since when have we been a big soccer powerhouse with the men's side? It really be that one, John. No, seriously, we're like the Arkansas in the SEC when it comes to soccer. It's like, well, you expect them to be good, but their fans expect them to be good, but I don't know if anybody else's fans do. So I don't understand the difference, John. John's just trying to dump on America over here, winning a 4-0 game in the World Cup. But there are visitors because we are North America is hosting the World Cup.
They're ranked 41st in FIFA.
Who is?
Paraguay. They're ranked between Czechia and Scotland.
Where were we ranked?
Yeah, John.
Stand by.
Wasn't ready for
look
that
it up.
one.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. Was he?
Whoopsie daisy.
17th.
We're 17th?
Yeah, we're not the best.
Between
I
Uruguay
think 17th
Japan.
is way better than I thought we were.
It's top 18.
I'm not kidding.
Really? You thought we were? I figured you. I thought you were disappointed to say 17th.
17th seems like outrageously high for as much as people talk about how we're just never going to be a country that cares about soccer. And
I think it's a country that somewhat cares about soccer.
If your college basketball team is 17th in the country,
well, yeah, but like
Miami was undefeated. Miami, Ohio was undefeated for how long? And we barely could break.
Yeah,
they
but
barely
are you
could break top 25
because of the blue blood name, or because you've actually worked to get there?
Well, you know what? Beating Paraguay might not be the greatest accomplishment in the world, but it certainly helps. Beating teams that are ranked behind you is certainly going to help out anyway. At least it keeps you at number 17. But regardless, that wasn't even the point of what it was, John. But it was still good. There are a lot of people visiting North America from European countries. And they are getting themselves the authentic American experience, no matter where that may be, including the French and their visit to Costco. Here is a TikTok of a Frenchman going to Costco.
So I've been to Walmart already, and it's huge. But what is this? Costco. This is even bigger than Walmart. I'm way too European for this. I'm not able to understand. That's huge. Why is it so big?
It apparently has blown Lima's doors off that people from Europe would come here and then they would go to a Costco.
Yeah.
Why does that bother you so much that they would come here and go to a Costco?
I don't think that would be in my top 1,000 things to do.
Well, you take Costco's for granted.
Now, what city are they in, too? Because
I was
think
Dallas.
That matters a lot.
Wasn't this in the Dallas area, John? All right, so they're in the Dallas area, the Metroplex.
Yeah, like the cities in the United States, Atlanta, Boston. Also, there's Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami. It says New York, New Jersey. Which,
Meadowlands,
yeah, they're
Giant
playing at the
Stadium.
Meadowlands.
If you're in New York, you're not going to Costco. There's a lot of things to see. If you're in Dallas, what are you really sightseeing in Dallas?
How long are they in?
There's this Walmart clip explains it a little bit longer. Yeah. Well, that's the place, right?
Yeah.
That's the international place that you would probably go. I mean, if you've been overseas, right? You go to Italy and you get to go to Rome and you get that stuff's historic. Our country's been around for 200
slightly
years.
less time, yes.
250.
250 years coming up here.
They celebrated last night.
Yeah, they did. Celebrated the hell out of it, didn't
This
they?
little experiment that we have.
I mean, the big boy don't run every week.
No, it doesn't. No. It's compared to those countries, we are very, very young. We're teenagers compared to those countries. But also, like I've never been to Europe, all right? I would want an authentic experience, though. Like I haven't been to Europe, but I've watched a lot of Rick Steves.
Okay.
And so maybe I would like to go and see some of the things that they have there. Like if you were going to England, right? Don't they have a lot of markets? You would go to the market in England. But if you were there for a couple of weeks, like eventually you'd have to go and do England things. And today, like here, when they come here, like going to Costco is an American
this
thing.
One for you. There's this Walmart cut that John found somewhere too, and here it is, and that's the credit.
Why do Europeans love Walmart so much? I'll tell you. As a European, you have heard about this place your whole life. It's one of those places that you know it's real, but it feels like mythical. It's like Route 66 or Times Square or even like a yellow school bus. You know they exist, but they're only part of a version of the US that you've seen on TV and grown up with. And then one day you walk through the doors to Walmart, and that's how you know you're in the US. Yeah, it makes you feel like weirdly emotional in this oddly familiar environment you've somehow never been. And I remember thinking, this is what American people must feel when they see the Colosseum. Not because Walmart is ancient or beautiful or historically significant, but because it's something you've seen and heard about your whole life, and now it's real. Yeah. And for a moment, you stop being a tourist and step into a culture that you've only ever observed from the outside. I just wish the Colosseum did coconut Dr. Pepper.
Like if I went to England.
Yeah.
I would participate. Do they do tea time over there? Do they still do that, or was that just like a thing we heard about?
I don't know. I haven't been recently.
I'd like to find out, and I'd like to participate in the tea time.
America's known for its. Stop talking. America's known for its oversight. Everything's bigger, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Fat Americans, obviously,
Yes.
right? And this is one of those. Like they don't have giant marketplaces.
They don't have room for them,
right?
The European countries are small.
Classically built.
Yeah, they're like the biggest they are is like the size of Ohio. We are a vast country compared to what they deal with.
And they're yearning for more of that. They want more. Is that what he's saying? They wish they had
the authentic
Walmarts and Costco's
American experience.
Well, I don't know that they wish they
Sam's
had
Club.
it. Now, if they've ever seen a Buc-ee's, but then again, like what's a gas station like there, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're blown away by Buc-ee's because you're used to going to a place that has, 6 pumps maybe, or even a bigger gas station that has 10 pumps. Buc-ee's has 100.
They're also using public transportation.
And to them, well, that's true, but to them, we are a much larger country, and every country has their bugaboos and things that they're not so great at. But here we have great abundance, and they would like to see part of that. So yeah, just like the first time, your Buc-ee's analogy was right on. The first time I walked into a Buc-ee's, unpaid testimonial, I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. I've heard the stories, and now I'm a part of the story. I think they feel the same way at a Costco.
I think
and at Walmart.
The public transportation, another great thing. The first time that when I lived overseas and used the subway system there, I was like, this is awesome. And then by like a month in, and you're using it every day, and you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, you would eventually get used to their ways
nice
and figure out whether or not you like it.
to be responsible for my own travel to and fro, but like.
Now, does it sound to you when they're talking about these things that they are using it to paint an overly positive view of our country?
Yeah, I think when you're here, you're going to do that, right?
But that this is something you go out of your way to go to and to,
let me ask you this.
I mean, that was a tribute.
You've been on vacation to other countries. Have you been to Europe?
I've not been to Europe, no.
Okay. But when you go to vacation on at other countries, how often have you said anything bad about the country you went and visited?
Oh, never.
Exactly.
Yeah, never.
No one wants to say they had a bad time. So when you go over here...
It's specifically the going out of your way to go there is what is so fascinating to me.
That's what Americans do. And to them, they can't believe it that we do it once or twice a week in this country. And to them, it's a huge deal. So, yeah, they're going to go and check it out. And they can't believe the great abundance of what a Costco or a Walmart has.
I guess in the year 2026, where all this stuff can be had on your phone into anything that's at these places that they're commemorating can be had at your phone in a quicker amount of time and not like to me when people talk.
But how much Amazon are they using over there? Right? How often do they get their things delivered. I don't know what their infrastructure's like.
Probably not as much as us.
Why not?
Do you know, Anthony?
Why?
Do you know if they're using it?
I'm asking, why wouldn't they be able
No,
to?
do you know if they're using it?
No, why wouldn't they be able to?
I have no clue.
Do you know that they're using it or not using it?
I don't.
Hold on.
But you're
So what
miffed
are you
by,
arguing about?
But you're miffed by people not using it. Well, we don't know if they have it or not. Like I think what we're so used to the ability to go to the superstore, right? That now they're just bringing it to our house is a great next step for us. Right? They don't even have the superstore thing.
Yeah, they're much more concentrated in where their population is.
Sure.
So they have these city centers.
We have New York City. I know how New York City operates. They have bodegas that are right down the steps from where they live.
Do you need Amazon to be driving around all over the place if you go downstairs to the bodega?
Some people are horrified by that. I think it's awesome. You go downstairs, get fresh fruit. It's downstairs from where you live.
Yeah,
in
what's
this
wrong
country,
with it?
we got to get in a car. We got to drive. We got to park. We got to go in.
You get to pick your own strawberries.
And you can go pick your own strawberries. And it seems to me what's funny is all I see on social media are the GIFs and the memes of people talking about how horrible the experience is of trying to go to Costco on a Saturday and deal with the wars.
We're used
don't
to
you
it.
dare try to go the opposite way against the
We're used
grain
to it.
and against the traffic.
We are used to it.
But
We
those
have
people
found
are
those ways.
But those people are complaining about that experience.
But to keep going, I hate to go in a circle here, but it's exactly what Owen said. I've never ridden a subway. If I rode the subway once, I think it's be a pretty cool experience. If I had to get on the subway every day, like when I get on planes, it's happened so infrequently where it's like, all right, I'll deal with this. But if I had to fly all the time, I bet I find a bunch of reasons to get pretty pissed off over having to fly all the time, or having to go on a subway all the time, or having to do any of the other things that people have to do in major city centers have to do, or any of the other stuff. So for them, they can't believe Americans get in a car and they drive a whole half an hour to go to Costco, and then they spend their time at Costco, and then they drive a whole half an hour back, and then they've done that for the week. They can't believe that. And I think that's kind of cool.
Would that get old to them after a week?
If they had to live here and
Especially
they were
if dealing
permanent
with
residents, yes.
I-90 and the 6-year construction project.
What would you suggest people do with their time if they're in Dallas?
There's really nothing to see in Dallas. It's a pretty big-ass city.
There's Dealey Plaza, and then that takes you for one day, and then you can go see Lee Harvey Oswald's childhood bedroom. Depending on or not childhood bedroom, but the one that he rented. You can go see that. They've left it exactly how it is at that house. And so once you get that, that's 2 days. Well, in between that, you got the soccer match. So you can go watch a soccer match or matches. They're going to have more than one.
You have reduced Dallas down to a couple of spots. When Dallas is
well, I've never been to Dallas. I don't know what else they have.
I've been to a few establishments in Dallas, but they involved...
Yeah, I've never been to Dallas. I'm not ripping on Dallas, but the only thing I know what to see is Jerry World.
It's the fourth biggest metro area in our country, and the best we have
they got a nice
is Costco.
What else do they have? Name one thing. Name another.
I'm telling. Wait a second. It is. I'm sure people would say that about Cleveland if they didn't know anything about Cleveland.
Understood. Yes.
Now I do.
I don't know anything about Dallas. I can only go by what I know.
If it was 2 months later, going to the Texas State Fair would be a thing for people from out of the country, right?
Okay.
It's unfortunately you'd go to Cowboys training camp if you could, or go see something with that. That's not going on right now.
But there's nothing else going on down there
OTAs.
except the World Cup, and then you're going to go if you had an interest in baseball. I guess you can go see the Rangers, but I think the Rangers only play a handful of games at home this month because of the World Cup that's going on.
I think moral of the story is what I'm saying is that again, if I live in this country, I live in Cleveland. If I go to Texas, I'm gonna find some better things to do. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, but you've been to Costco a bunch of times. So if you didn't have a Costco, would you go to... We don't have a Buc-ee's. So
I'm sure I've passed a Buc-ee's before. I've never thought I need to stop there and see what all the...
I don't think you have.
You're crazy.
Where are they?
You're crazy.
They're south. You don't drive when you go travel.
No, yeah,
out
you
of
just
state,
fly.
right? You fly. So there's not one. Where do you drive to? Mac schools, right? For that stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. They're talking about putting one in Mansfield. There's one down in Dayton area. That's the closest one now.
Brother, I'm going to let you know, if you actually had to drive south like Owen and I have on vacation or something, and it says 163 miles, those big-ass billboards, that say 163 miles to Buc-ee's.
There's
and
one in like Hoover, Alabama, and they let you know when you're in Kentucky.
And then they count you down, so it's like the next one's 25 miles away, then 25 miles after that. By the time you get down to like 25 miles to Buc-ee's, you want to go see what Buc-ee's has to offer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right ass now.
What have I missed out on this entire life of my 45 years?
Very clean
the same
bathrooms.
thing that these guys have missed out on in Costco.
Clean bathroom. I'm the one that brings the germs to the bathroom.
Doors go all the way to the bottom.
They have a resident attendant in there.
Oh
That's
my
just
God,
always-
it's so amazing. The barbecue that
Do
they
you have to tip them?
Unpaid testimonial.
No, they're not doing hand towels.
Yeah, they're not doing that, but they make sure it's clean. It's clean bathroom.
Not a nightclub.
That's
I
half
did get a spritz of cologne now.
We've been on one road trip before. That's half the battle is the bathrooms.
At the I-80. What happened at the I-80
We were at the
Superplex
I-80.
or whatever you guys
Yeah, you remember that one guy who started talking over there? You don't find that over in Europe.
No, you don't.
You don't find that. Coming up at 9:20 this morning, Anthony Castrovet's going to join us on the show in 5 minutes. I don't know if anyone's excited for the Knicks, but you got to feel good for this guy. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan.
Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Does Lima like? Or does Lima no like? Like?
Tell me likey. I'm liking it. I like it a lot.
No like.
He doesn't like you.
I don't like you either.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Like or no like. Like or no like.
But I definitely knew what I liked, and I definitely knew what I didn't like.
All right, well, Friday we mentioned soccer. Today, we've mentioned some of the soccer. And how about, ladies and gentlemen, the United States men's team getting it done.
I'm alive.
Dominating fashion. And could this be a sign of things to come? I didn't realize 17th ranked in the world. Never feels like they're talked about that way. I think that's pretty good.
Hopefully it's the start of something special. Yeah.
Considering how down people always seem to be. Meanwhile, I want to get the pronunciation right. This is...
I thought it was Thierry Henry.
Talk to Ken about that.
Is he a former player?
Yeah.
Okay, and what did he have to say about their epic start to their World Cup run?
I said I believe that team can bring the crowd together. They just need to do it today. Not in friendly games, not when people were panicking, not even against Panama here. I know there was a Nation League. A lot of people were talking. They needed to be ready today. And I believe in what I see. And I saw a great team today. Team performance. I believe personally that they can go on the run. Let's see if they will do it. That doesn't mean you will go on the run. But now I'm sure a lot of people will believe that they can go on the run.
Now, going on a run. Now, we talked
They
about
played
that.
Paraguay, right? He said Panama. Maybe I'm thrown off. Was it in? I don't know. I'm sorry.
He definitely said Panama,
Okay.
and they did play Paraguay.
I mean, it happens. Both start with P's.
All right, John,
Yeah.
what's the furthest they've been able to go in the World Cup?
I don't know. You guys act like I'm this soccer expert.
Well, you came in, you were
like you're the
guns
soccer
blazing.
expert.
Yeah, you came in guns blazing over there like you were Alexi Lawless. You don't even know?
No, I have no idea how far Paraguay's
I can't
gone.
believe
How
it.
do I
I'm
know
a
that?
producer, and you're asking me to find out where the furthest they made it.
In 1930, we were third place.
That's pretty damn good.
We reached the quarters in 2002. So,
which would be top 16.
yeah.
Which, apparently, this is a very popular question because it popped right up on the Google. So I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how far we've ever been.
Paraguay made the quarters in 2010. That's the farthest they've ever gone.
So have they been more successful more recently than us?
I guess so.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I'm sorry, that's not even the top 16. That's the top 32 in the quarter.
So,
okay.
Let me ask you this: Is we always wonder?
So we have been better than it.
Every time we get to the World Cup, or anytime there's anything like a quality player that we like talking about, we start wondering: can it change its place in this country? Do we believe that this team could do something like that? Like, what would get you excited? Kenny, did you even watch Friday? You can be honest.
No, I was at the Guardians game.
Yeah, so I imagine there were people that prioritized, like, we are stopping what we're doing. We're going to go out of our way.
Passion.
So what would they have to do to put them on that scale for you?
It's impossible, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of people who like it.
Well, I do think, like, if we're honest, right, I might know one player's name on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if he plays or what he does. If they get to where we know who they are more, like what these players are doing more, and where you can actually name a few of them, and know their contributions, I think that's a big deal.
If they reached the semifinals, got to the Final Four, that wouldn't be appointment viewing for Ken Carman?
Yeah, it would be appointment viewing.
Okay, so we found a
But
spot.
if I have a prior obligation, I'm like not going to cancel a prior obligation. Now, a Guardians game was no obligation, but I had a night scheduled with my son.
You had to go jinx the rest of the season.
I didn't go ruin the season at all. That picture was taken on a Friday. There were other people who took pictures with him.
What happened to Jose Ramirez that things went
that was
sideways?
on Saturday, not on Friday. You ass.
Hoping Lima does not like that.
Yeah, that's
up to Lima.
Yeah, Lima no likes.
That is, and not only that,
Lima no likes.
We missed our opportunity yesterday because of the rain out for Travis Kelce to throw out the first pitch.
That sucks.
And who knows? Would he have had somebody accompanying him? I don't know.
Jason Kelce?
Well, that could be one of them.
Patrick Mahomes?
Donna
Kelce? Ed is his father.
Ed?
Yeah. We will never know.
And I don't know,
until he throws out the next first pitch.
Has Taylor Swift stopped celebrating yet from her favorite basketball team's
Well, they just won on Saturday night, so I'm sure.
Did the party just keep going for Taylor? Speaking of, I know Ken will not like where I'm going with this direction-wise. Because you hated the Knicks fans. That got to you, clouded your judgment on this finals.
No, just the ones that were beating people in the road. Not all Knicks fans, though.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's always going to be a few bad apples, but it shouldn't spoil the whole bunch. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's been Browns fans who have acted like idiots in the past. There's been Steelers fans who have acted like idiots. There's been plenty of fan bases that have had a few idiots in it. It doesn't ruin all Knicks fans for me.
Well, Mike Brown, congratulations to him, because, I found him, covered him 2 different times, but really the second time when he was back. You know, I had the gig here and was going down there and peppering him with questions at press conferences.
Yeah, you were.
And to see him now as a champion. I know in that sport, we don't celebrate the coaches as much. Maybe we used to, like in the 80s and 90s.
It was a different time, yeah.
And
we
now
felt differently about it.
I don't know, like Ty Lue. Is Ty Lue in mythical standing in Cleveland?
No.
I don't feel that he is.
No.
Now, that'll be different from Mike Brown in New York.
Yeah.
Changes everything in New York. But also, Mike Brown could get fired in 2 years. Like, that's just how that league works. Would you be shocked?
But he would still have strong standing within the fan base because he won a championship. Like, Ty Lue's an interesting character because he was young enough. He wasn't here that long before they won their championship at all.
And wasn't here that long after
and then wasn't here that long afterwards.
Well, it's weird. It is
a weird relationship.
If you would have told me that a coach in this town would have helped lead a team to a championship, and he almost never gets brought up.
Like if the Guardians win the World Series, how quickly is Stephen Vogt's name brought up?
Oh,
after the first 2 or 3 names?
Oh, it's going to be huge.
As in major contributors.
Huge.
If the Browns win the Super Bowl, Todd Monken's one of the biggest figureheads behind it. But if the Cavs win a championship, or when the Cavs won a championship, like Ty Lue is second reference. Like he's on that next rung of people. And I don't know how far down the list you go before you get to Ty Lue. Probably a ways. Because of the players that were on that team and how much they were liked.
If it weren't LeBron. If it were anybody but LeBron.
Yeah, if it were anybody but LeBron, maybe it'd be different.
But gets a little more love.
You have LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin, and then you get to, good God, JR, Matt Dellavedova, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye.
Man,
like
all of them. You're right.
Like you get that, and then
Sasha Cowan.
Then you get to Ty Lue.
Dante Jones.
He's like third on that rung there.
Yeah.
Third rung.
Yeah, so I give it up to Mike Brown because he was very good to a lot of the local high schools here.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the coaches, they were celebrating him over the weekend. I think that was pretty cool. And you know what? I got to say,
I'm alive.
It looked pretty damn good last night. The UFC. I wasn't able to stay up and actually watch it. I saw the highlights. Pretty amazing.
I didn't see any. I fell asleep.
What they were able to pull off considering the weather, the delays. And, politically, anything involved at the White House, depending on who the president is going to be controversial to half the country, which is just insane to me. Like, we could just look at that, and the visuals of some of the stuff I saw looked amazing. And now some of the commentary from some of the fighters
You call
afterwards.
it insane to you like we don't do coming in hot every week. Oh, it's insane. I can't believe it.
We did not do coming in hot
you didn't.
On Friday because we had the Andrew Berry press conference.
Finally.
But I'd say the UFC event,
interview.
To me, looked pretty damn good there. Good job, Dana White. And, yeah, congratulations. The president wanted to see it. He wanted it on his birthday. Congratulations to them pulling it off. That'll look cool.
Is that it for
That's
about
it for
last
Lemon
night?
Lakes.
Outstanding as always. Coming up at 9:20 this morning, Anthony Castrovin's going to join us on the show. Will Jose's injury make the Guardians make more moves or less moves at the trade deadline, or any moves at all? And he would have to be unrealistically good for me to even consider him hanging with the Browns. But I can never say never on the Fan. Class.
University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
Jose Ramirez, he's injured. He'll be out for about a month or so. We'll talk about that coming up again at 8:20. Open the show with it. It can be a devastating injury. I just don't think that this is the organization that would let such an injury become devastating. That's a lot of faith in the organization. We'll talk more about that coming up at 8:22 this morning. Also, Anthony Castrovit's going to join us at 9:20 about how this could make the Guardians either more or less aggressive at the trade deadline. 216-474-0092. So you guys were bringing up without me. Andrew Berry was on Friday. And then I heard you guys talking like, well, when are we going to have Ken respond to some of the stuff that Andrew Berry was saying and things like that? Fine. You want me to respond to some of it? I'll respond to some of it. Andrew Berry was asked about Deshaun Watson's future with the Cleveland Browns. Andrew said he's really not going to rule anything out.
Are you open to giving him a contract extension?
Yeah, I think everything's on the table. I think it would be silly to go into a season and say, hey, something absolutely can or cannot happen. And I think particularly at the quarterback position, we've seen it with guys, whether it's Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones or Geno Smith or, even Baker. I think you have to be open-minded and flexible. But, I wouldn't rule out anything. We're looking for guys who can perform and who can lead.
I think it's a fair comment. I'm not the world's biggest Deshaun Watson fan by any means necessary, and I think everybody knows that. But just because I think that this has been, because common sense and being in the real world tells you that this has been everything, including a disaster, in every way you could describe the word for the Browns. Just because it's been a disaster doesn't mean I'm completely turned off to the future. Now, I'll point this out. I think it's unrealistic. The conversation of him having some sort of an extension with the Browns, I just find to be an unrealistic conversation. I'm sorry. Now, I know I raised a lot of hell on Thursday because we got reports from beat reporters on the radio that were saying that both quarterbacks have struggled. And I'm like, if people, for whatever reason, thought I was reporting. I was like, guys, I haven't been there. I'm only going by the reports. And the whole point is, if they're both going to struggle, this was the point I laid out. If he's struggling this much, I imagine it's going to get probably worse when they put pads and helmets on and get going after each other. Or when he gets thrown into the fray in a game, it's probably not going to be very good. Now, maybe I'll end up being wrong, but I don't think I will be. And so, yeah, it's a conversation to have. If he were to go out there and throw for 3,500 yards, a bunch of touchdowns, very few picks, he puts them in a position to win some games. They end up finishing with maybe a 9-win record or something like that. Then, yeah, yes, it's a conversation to be had. I just don't think those things are going to happen.
For me, I thought about this, and I used the term next to impossible. And the only part I would
You guys had this conversation after you had him on Friday?
A little bit,
Okay.
yeah. But the only part I would circle the next to part, and the only reason I'm not saying it's outright impossible is because I'm trying to allow, in the recesses of my mind, I'm trying to at least allow there to be a remote opportunity or chance that Todd Monken has some Monken magic that we're sitting there like the stuff we say about McVay all the time, right? Yeah. That maybe Monken magic can wear off and he has that ability to get the best, whatever the best could possibly be of Deshaun Watson now, that there is a chance over time that now, because we're past OTAs and minicamp, now we've got this off time. Then we get into training camp.
So I think that's dangerous. I really think it's dangerous because I think you hit for yourself. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Not in your state.
Well,
I think for your own thoughts.
I just said next to impossible.
Next to impossible, yeah.
So you're just saying impossible.
Basically, yeah. I think it's it's not. Nothing's impossible, but I think it's just.
So you'd say next to impossible.
Next to impossible. Fair point.
Okay.
Fair point. Well said.
But it's okay. We're both in the unlikely camp. Wholly unlikely.
Yeah, but I feel I need to make it like a more unlikely than you like. I just don't think it's very realistic whatsoever. And I think that if there are some people who have hinged that thought, then they're going to try to put everything on Kevin Stefanski. And it's like, well, we did see him do better with one guy, and that was Baker Mayfield coming from 2019 to 2020 for a million different reasons that people could bring up. It didn't end well with Kevin Stefanski, certainly, or it wouldn't have ended, clearly. But I think that I just think it's completely unrealistic, and I'm not going to put my mind into it. Like, I can bring myself to think that, Shedeur Sanders has some sort of a shot to stay on as a quarterback here, even though I just don't think it's very realistic that either quarterback, they made their move for a reason. They did this for a reason when it comes to Myles Garrett, and we know what it is. I still think, even though you got Jared Verse back, and Jared Verse is a fine player, but you've made it a mission about what you really think of your team right now in terms of being competitors with it when it comes to that quarterback room. So when they said it so publicly, because I think if they felt they had a chance, they weren't going to trade the best player, no matter. They weren't going to do it. Because teams that have chances aren't doing that. Like the Rams aren't going to turn right around and do something like that. They're in it to win it. We're not there yet. Hopefully we will be someday. So that admission there tells me that, they're ways off, and they feel that they need to do these things to put themselves in the best position to get that guy. I'm just more open-minded towards Shedeur Sanders than I am a Deshaun Watson. I've been through that conversation so many times. I'm done trying to even pretend anything to myself. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to take away from the past, but I'm done telling myself things to make myself feel any better about that situation. No.
Yeah, and I've been there too. And I'm somebody who lobbied for Deshaun Watson. So for me to not really hold out any hope, any morsel of hope on this should be pretty telling. In the end, like, hey, let's watch it. Let's watch it go down. Like, it's a quarterback competition. You hope the competition creates something better for both these guys as opposed to whatever the hell it was last year, which I think sabotaged all four guys involved in a big way. But for me to see a level of play that would lead to a contract extension or for him to even be in the mix for one more year.
Yeah.
How? I mean, how in the world?
It would be unrealistic.
It would
Again,
have to be
an unrealistic
It would have to be
season.
the perfect storm of everything coming together. Remember, he's going to turn 31 in September, too. Now, that's 31 depending on the quarterback and the style of quarterback. Like, if it's a run-first quarterback, Cam Newton, 31 is different than somebody who's a trademark pocket style, comfortable, hanging in there and throwing passes. Very different. And that's never really been Deshaun Watson.
I did think it was very interesting that you guys asked this question to Andrew Berry yesterday, because we have the question and the answer.
I think he's had an excellent spring. I mean, the past 8 to 10 weeks, as a rookie player, and particularly at quarterback, you learn a lot your first year, and especially if you don't start a full season. And I think he did a phenomenal job this offseason. That really started in January and February, and then certainly as we got into having real practices in May, his growth has been tremendous.
All right, apparently we have a miscommunication on the clip there. But there was a question that was asked of Andrew Berry of, were you disappointed when Myles showed up to the Rams OTAs? Daryl had asked that question, right? And he had said, no, not really. First off, he said he didn't notice it. We have the clip. Here's the clip.
Well, one, I didn't actually notice that. I would imagine that's the case with, like, okay, hey, you're learning a new scheme. I think they had a week of OTAs practice. You're learning, new building, new coaches, new teammates, new system. Myles has a pretty disciplined regimen that he does in Dallas, and he's done that for, like, the latter part of his career. We have a voluntary program. He was always in shape. That was never something that really bothered us.
So what were you chuckling about there during that answer?
They said new scheme.
Sounded the exact same thing
coaches.
as us. Yeah, sounded a lot like us.
No, not a new building. So had they have moved to like some nice college building,
but they're building new
up?
buildings over there. So it still could have been a new building depending on what they were actually building out and building on.
Yeah.
Okay. That tells me that there was definitely something there beforehand. To me, I think that there was.
I'm with you.
I know everybody's acting like they were surprised, and we don't need to go over the dead horse anymore. The horse is basically buried, but you guys did just have him on Friday. You had to ask the question. I understand that, but when he says that, I wasn't very surprised by that whatsoever. Like, I don't understand what is the problem of having that conversation and still saying, yes, we knew for quite some time, because this is the team that, again, according to the articles coming out, we're going after him since 2022. So if they've been going after him for the last 3 years, you kind of have an idea and a relationship of what's going to go on with the LA Rams and that there was a conversation. So it would have been fine had you had done that, had you had been there. I get it's not surprising to do it, but the reasoning is like, well, that's all the same reasoning that we've had over this time to possibly bring him in. Now, that pointed out, I can't go back on what I said, even though I did think it was per the usual that he did go to the OTAs and the things of that with the LA Rams that he did with the Cleveland Browns. I did think it was usual, but I didn't make a big deal of it with the Cleveland Browns, and I have to stick to that because I didn't think if they would not have made the trade, and he would have still came to the mandatory parts of things, we'd just be moving on with our lives. We might be talking about him at the next trade deadline halfway through the year, but we would have just moved on with our lives. Coming up at 9:20 this morning, Anthony Castrovince. We got to get some answers out of him because you have Chase DeLauder's injury that's mixed in there. You also have Jose Ramirez that's obviously in there. And day-to-day with Angel Martinez, where he could be back coming up tomorrow. Just how devastating could this Jose Ramirez injury be? We asked that question coming up in 5 on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Expert Renovations, our new partner here at 923 The Fan. And what they have, it is just absolutely incredible. It's called the 30-year warranty lifetime protection plan. That's right, lifetime protection plan. What does that mean for you? Well, it is something that other construction companies, they just don't have the means to be able to offer. The difference here with Expert Renovations, and Justin, the CEO, his entire team, is they're going to be in there year after year and actually know what they're looking for. To have people like this on your side is such a game changer, and it's built to protect.
Stanley Cup. Get all latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during this offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Have you any idea with the time frame for Jose, what it would take?
I mean, this is typically 5 to 7 weeks, so that's 5 to 7.
Stephen Vogt addressing the injury to Jose Ramirez. It was the damnedest thing. I think it was in the 5th inning. I was driving. I was taking my dad back on Saturday. We had the family over. Didn't have the usual cake. Had the cupcakes and the whatnot. And then Liz got the candles that won't blow out as a gag.
Oh, that's a good one.
But then guess who had to grab the burning candles as they were starting to burn down? So I had to go out there and burn my fingers. But at least, we got a gag out of it. That was fine. But I was taking my dad back, and I'm listening to Tom Hamilton. He's explaining how it's all going down. And I go, what? Because you're not paying. You got a kid's thing going on. You're not paying that close of attention to what's going on TV. So I had known about Angel Martinez. I had known about Chase DeLauder, which already sucked. I did not know about Angel Martinez. And then when I'm hearing about, Reese Hoskins is going out to left field because it was going into the 6th. And then Jose came out. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. Then I thought for sure when I got back in after I dropped my dad off that I thought for a second they had just switched Jose to DH or something like that. I was lost and basically until I got home. And then I read up on it. And then clearly it can be an injury that devastates a season. 5 to 7 weeks. There's a lot that he makes happen on that baseball team. All right. Now that pointed out, it's not a situation where they have got so much emotional currency with me that if there was a team that would be able to withstand this, it would be them. It just makes every game without him that much more important. That's one of the. I think that's got to be the biggest challenge that they have going forward to this. Because Stephen Vogt even mentioned it himself a little bit later on. How hard is it to keep guys straight and narrow when we're saying the quiet part out loud because everybody knows it. Like they're all going to be trying to fulfill the needs that they have as a organization, helping them win games without Jose Ramirez with them.
Just watch them play. You see a little sign of somebody trying to do a little too much, you just calm them down. Just talk to them and say, hey, keep being yourself. You're on this team because you, with your skill set, can go out and help us win games. You don't have to be anything more than that. Easier said than done because I think everybody's going to want to try and do a little bit more. It's the nature of the beast. But we just have to continue to stay the course and be ourselves and go out and win games.
Like no one would believe me, Stephen Kwan has actually been a little bit better here over the last couple of weeks. I think he's batting 300 over the last couple of weeks, actually. But, how does a guy like that not try harder, considering he was already trying too hard?
But that was immediately my first thought was now Kwan has to get back to being that guy that you wanted to give $30 million a year to. He has to be the leader now because he's the guy with the everyday veteran experience. You'll go to guys like Hedges and Hoskins who are true vets in the league, but we can't depend on them every day like we have depended on Steven in the past. Kwan to step up. He has to do it.
It's almost the same thing. It's not. It's not because you're going to get Jose back and he's the lifeblood of the organization. But it's the same thing we kind of said when they traded away Myles Garrett. Like, okay, this is your opportunity now if you're Carson Schlesinger and some of these young guys to kind of take the reins of this defense and take the reins of this football team and be emotional leaders on this team so it doesn't turn into a bad culture or continue to free fall into bad culture. For the Guardians, I think it's an opportunity here because I have full faith and confidence. I understand that there's going to be some medical work that needs to be done that will take him away from the team. And I don't expect him to make road trips over the next 5 to 7 weeks. I understand it's a risk, but I don't expect him to make the road trips. But I don't think it's going to be like Juan Soto where he just disappears and isn't around the organization over the next 5 to 7 weeks. I'd be very surprised about that. I imagine he'll be around at least the home series. They got a nice long road trip starting tomorrow. But in the home series, I imagine he's going to be around. But this is a chance, a golden opportunity for one of these younger guys to kind of to do their very best to step into his shoes and fill them up as best they can because they have a very tough schedule coming up here.
And you asked a question earlier in the show about whether or not this makes them more or less likely to try to make a big move, before the deadline. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because again, it's not just that the Central is wide open. The American League is wide open.
Yes.
And there's this team, like me and you have been talking, and it was really weird. Before you were out on Friday, I know we were having conversations. I'm not sure which ones were on the air or which ones were off the air. So we have a great relationship off the air.
We do.
So sometimes the conversations bleed over, and then I don't even know which ones were had on the air, which ones you guys
That's
got
fine.
to hear.
We'll do it anyway.
Yeah, but me and you had both seen some kind of negative Nancy's on social media.
Well, it was like a daily thing. As far as the negatives,
start to talk about this team really has no shot.
Yeah, and you and I felt differently about it because it's like, all right, the Yankees have been great, the Rays have been great. We always assume the Yankees and Rays are going to be great. So that I hate to cut you off. That didn't throw me off. Houston, I felt that Houston would start off slow. All right, Houston started off slow, but I'm like, they'll pick it up. I don't know, man. It's June 15th. They're still 7 games under 500. So like the usual suspects aren't as big of powerhouses as they've been in the past. Like Seattle, okay, is anybody scared, list of anybody in the AL West? Chicago, I'll give them their proper respect. They're in the division, right? Like Owen's already grimacing. It's like, no, we're still here in the AL.
Well, when you say usual suspects, Cleveland's one of the usual suspects.
They are. That's true.
And we just don't look at it because we're inside. We're inside looking out.
But I think we all thought it was going to be us and Detroit in the Central, and then maybe Kansas City.
It was not Chicago.
Yeah, Kansas City has floundered. Detroit has had their injuries. They were starting to streak until they ran into us. Detroit is excellent. They are absolutely not Chicago. Chicago is they're a surprise. Chicago's a bit of a surprise. I mean, it's June 15th now. Like, they are who they are. It would take something pretty bad for them to fall completely apart, or something almost historical for them to fall completely apart.
They're a young team too,
yes,
right?
They are.
That's the one thing where you look at, like, at least we do have a little bit more veteran, but
like
they're doing it. They've got a big star over there right now, a big hitter. So
yeah, so I'm not trying to dump on any of these other teams, but I'm saying is, yeah, I know we don't have Jose for the next 5 to 7 weeks. It doesn't have to be such a devastating blow if they don't allow it to be. And if we were a lot of other organizations, yeah, I'd be pretty nervous right now. I'm not. I'm just not. Even if I wanted to stick my head in the sand and say everything's going to be fine, I think that the Guardians actually have reserved that benefit of that doubt to be able to do that because of their history here over the last 10 to 15 years. Plus,
your biggest problem before the break, especially, is you have 2 series with the White Sox. There's 7 games in there. That's going to be a big deal. That's where that was my confidence in last year, and the comeback was you had all these games with Detroit still where you got to really, they were worth 2 wins, right? A win was worth 2 because you were putting one in their loss column and you were picking up the win, right? It was a big deal. These are going to be big. Those are going to be bigger than probably any of the other games, really, in going into the All-Star break those 7 games.
Because you're right. They got 3 on the road, June 22nd through the 24th, and then real quick, Tone, Thursday the 2nd through 4th of July weekend, they play 4 against Chicago at home.
I told you earlier, and I know this sounds like a coping mechanism. Of course it is. I'll be upfront about it.
But you're allowed to be that way with their history.
But when a guy goes down, you try to think instead of, especially with this team, you know, if it were, let's be honest, if it were the Browns and we were having a good season and then someone significant.
We felt that way in 2023. We felt that way in 2020 with the injuries that were going on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but in 2023, I mean, you felt the same way. And so many guys getting banged up, you're like, all right, I guess things are just going to get in our way. The Browns deserve that type of thinking considering their last 26 years.
And so
the Guardians would not.
And so with the Guardians, I start to think about opportunities. What could this do? Could other guys start to get elevated? And again, it's coping. Maybe they all go south. Maybe losing that force in the lineup is as bad as, you know,
he's going to be replaced by a guy who's been gone. It's a huge. I was talking about this Saturday morning before the injury happened.
Before it even happened.
My buddy was like, well, what do they do with Arias? Mm-hmm. Where, you know, Arias is basically has been played out of the lineup the way that Bazana's been playing and Rocchio have been playing. Like, where do you put Arias? Well, now, you know, unfortunately, there's a place for him right now. So he's going to get this time to prove, like, I'm not the guy you DFA when all this is over with.
You're
like,
right about that.
This is an opportunity for him to step up as well.
216-474-0092. Mike and Stowe, you're first up on the Fan. Hello, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are we doing? Happy Monday.
Doing well, Mike. Go right on ahead.
So, look, I think the screen's down more than ever with the hose. I was already thinking before I would have liked to have seen this, like, get out ahead of the trade deadline move. Let's get our guy. I want to see us go get a hitting outfitter, Odell for the Angels, something along those lines. With the Lauder, a little bit. And with Quan still struggling, we can't afford to count on him. Let's get another bat in that outfield, make our move now, and get someone little live him up team, new guy on the team. I think it'd be a good distraction. And we need it. We need more hitting.
See, I agree. I think it sticks with a lot of people. Like now's the time to pounce. You don't want to give up the division, especially because we don't know what's going to happen this offseason. Mike, thank you very much for the call. Owen, I know you want to say something. Let me just say this. I think because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen this offseason, like I'm already reading about Paul Skeen saying that the players need to dig in, and I mean that's as big as young superstar as you're going to find. So if he's saying that, hopefully we're talking baseball this time next year. We don't know. But because of that, it makes me kind of want to pounce on this and say, hey, you're right there within the thick of the division, which means you're right there within the thick of the American League. Maybe it is time to go out there and make a move that's going to help.
And I agree with you that it is time to make that pounce move. But when have they ever done that?
Very, very, very rarely.
Especially the Jay Bruce was like the last
first
in
name
season,
I thought
but
of.
that was back when there was a post waiver wire trade deadline and all that. And, the Yankees basically said, we don't want him on our roster anymore, and we will pay you to take him. And the Indians pounced on that, right? Like that stuff doesn't happen now with only one trade deadline. Those type of moves don't happen.
Well, another problem is so many teams are in the thick of it. Like there are only, I think, 5 teams in the American League with a positive run differential, and so
why would you ever think you're out?
Yeah, these teams are the Guardians were 15.5 out last year in July. So that's the only part of this is
when you
it's
add
a little
another
more
postseason team like the way they did. But when they add over a postseason team like they did a few years ago, like this is one of the things that we talked about. Is like when you add another spot, there's more teams that are going to tell themselves they're in. Well, it makes it harder to make a trade that's going to be truly beneficial to you for the right now. And so I do think it takes away some of the trade deadline stuff that we get so worked up about. But Mike and Stowe's right. There's definitely names out there that you can get. There's definitely people that you can bring in and go to make moves for. I would still. You look at the way this week is. I don't want to act too late. You got Milwaukee for 3. Then you go on the road to Houston to finish up the week. The road trip starts tomorrow in Milwaukee. Then you're at Houston. Then you're at Chicago. You're not home until next Friday, for crying out loud. However, you go to the road trip. You scuffle on the road trip a little bit. Say Chicago stays around you. I think the more that you scuffle a little bit, the more pressure there is to make a move. But I do want to see how the Pups respond. I want to see how Gabby Arias responds. It's the exact same thing that Owen was just talking about because you're out of options there. I want to see how he responds to it, and then I want to see how everybody else responds to it because you can put too much. It's not like they're not going to try. They're going to try. It's a good organization. What the issue is if they try too hard and they get out of their usual play because a guy like Jose, because of what he adds to the lineup, but really what he adds to the entire franchise, he can be a security blanket.
But that's the one thing I feel the most confidence in is that this organization is not one that's ever folded in adversity, right? And it's been a long, like 2019 was like the last time that I remember them really going, okay, we're not going to, they traded Savali, in like 21 or 22. But those were things where I thought maybe we'll make a run and they didn't make a run. They haven't shown you anything in the last 5 years that says, all right, Jose's out. We're done with this year.
And
we're done trying this.
And you're right about that. And I know it's odd because I think a lot of people are sounding like I'm trying to buy the Guardians more time or try to buy the Guardians more understanding. It's just they've proven it over and over throughout these last how many years.
You're not trying to do it. They've earned it.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's just flat out they've earned it.
But because of the way it is, remember what this is because this is going to sound like I'm making an excuse for them. There's been a lot of people who you look at what they're doing when you have 2 rookies that are in the lineup, when you still have Manzardo who you're trying to make things work out better for, who's such a young player. When we're talking about bringing up other guys here, like this would be a quintessential rebuilding year for a lot of organizations. It really should be.
Anthony, they haven't earned that with everyone because there's still people out there, and they're not wrong, that say Dolan's cheap. They're not wrong.
No, they're.
But those are the same people that are going to say that we have no chance now, too.
Okay, so they're two different things.
Those things are not both those things. You're right. They're not both true.
They're not the same thing.
They're not both true. Yes,
I know, but you've dealt with those people as much as I have.
And we are talking to them as much as we are.
That is what is going to happen.
Well,
as if you are a ardent Guardian supporter, you have to be strong through this period because there are going to be times where people tell you it's over and it's not.
You better bet your ass on that. 216-474-0092. Anthony Castrovint's going to join us at 9:20 Does this make you want to make more moves, or does this make you want to stand pat and see where the kids are after about a week of baseball? You got Milwaukee on the road, then you got Houston on the road, then you got Chicago on the road. I don't know if you get to next Wednesday and then all of a sudden you're not making these types of different changes here. Like, I want to see how it goes, and that probably starts tomorrow. I think Slade Cicconi's supposed to take the mound for us tomorrow in Milwaukee. 216-474-0092. Again, Castrovins, MLB.com, 920, and it's their locker room. They can invite whoever they want in there if they win the championship.
Anthony Lima, and what an amazing event over the weekend was on the
more at pausebeforeyouplay.org. Brought to you by the Cuyahoga County Problem Gambling Coalition and the Adams Board. In crisis now, dial 988.
In your weeknight with the best segments of the day. The Fan Rewind. Weeknights at 11.
It's their locker room. They want to have him in. Go ahead and have him in. I don't know who any one of the three teams would have in, but if they want to have him in, go ahead and have him in. Timothy Chalamet, was it just Timothy Chalamet, or were there other celebrities in the locker room?
He's the one I saw. I didn't really see.
He's the one I saw. At first, I will tell you,
in the locker room, he was, because there was a video of him getting champagne in his eyes, and he couldn't handle the sting.
My first reaction was, what's he doing in the locker room?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, if they want to have him in, go ahead and have him in.
I saw videos of Ben Stiller in like a photo shoot setting right after the game where they have like the Olin Mills background out there, and they are just taking the pictures of it or whatever. But they had him out there, and then I thought, I was kind of like, why does he get to do that? And then I remember 2016, pretty sure everyone in Cleveland took a picture.
Was he just
with
getting
Larry
his...
O'Brien? Oh, he had it. He did the Michael Jordan kiss the trophy thing and everything.
He did?
Ben Stiller, yes.
Well, he didn't win it.
He's a super fan.
Well,
man. I think he's as much a part of the team as some of those guys off the bench, right?
There are...
Ben Stiller?
All of them. Spike Lee, all of them.
You're not serious.
Yeah.
Well,
I know them more than I know.
Well, wait a second. Like remember
the eighth man.
But they didn't go out there and run scout. Like they didn't help
that's what
them
people,
in practice. And
people were.
You can't prove that.
People were critical.
Yes, I can.
People were critical of Kash Patel when he was overseas.
He's got other jobs
with the what was it, the hockey team, right?
Yeah.
So he was in there, and people were saying the same stuff.
Right.
Like what you just kind of parachuted in. Now, Stiller, I believe, is doing a documentary, like rumored to be doing a documentary
about
on the
team. Knicks?
Yeah, about the Knicks.
So does that mean Ken Burns, did he get to hold the World Series trophy?
But it seems like the players...
He got to hold Abner Doubleday's
The players have embraced... I think the Knicks, the difference here is the Knicks players have embraced the celebrities the whole way.
That's fine. Again, it's their locker room. They can have whoever in there they're allowed to have in. So if they wanted to bring Timothy Chalamet in and shower him with champagne, you go right on ahead and do it. If that's your call. Now, I don't think he's just entitled to walk in. Like, I don't think that Drew Carey, I'm imagining, is a big Guardians fan, right? I don't think Drew Carey is just entitled to walk into the clubhouse and celebrate with the guys if they don't deem him a person to go in there and celebrate.
But he's a bad example. He hasn't been with any of our teams all year. Like Ben Stiller,
really don't have an example here in Cleveland.
We don't
right
have
now
that
on those levels.
Okay, Travis Kelce is a 1% owner. He can go in there and he can celebrate if he wanted to, right?
If he starts showing up to games, yeah.
Well, he was going to show up to the game, but then the storms came through. He can't help
but
that.
If Travis Kelce wasn't there all year and then plopped in, during the World Series,
odd.
of course they're playing games, so
Right.
it's hard to even imagine that.
Well, I mean, Deion Sanders was able to get it done.
But like Tracy Morgan has been there in good times and bad over the last 20 years.
Yes.
Wasn't there,
He
when
had
he
a
was
few years that
sidelined.
he couldn't make it. Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. Timothy Chalamet is so young. I don't know his story with the Knicks or anything. Like, were his parents taking him to games when he was 5 years old? I don't know.
Well, I imagine he's a big fan, obviously. Are you wondering the amount of heartache or just how legitimate of a fan he is?
Normally there has to be
compared
some
to Spike Lee. I know
fides.
Spike Lee for 40 years has been going to Knicks games, and I've seen him.
Yeah. So did he go in the locker room too?
I don't know. I didn't see him. I really looked for it. I just that the Chalamet one's the one that popped into my into my timeline.
Can I go back to the Ben Stiller thing?
Yeah.
The kissing the trophy thing is a little weird to me.
He laughed afterwards, like he knew it was a a gag. He's also a comedian or comedic guy, right?
Because I remember when they brought the trophy here in 2016, which we're coming up on 10
I'll
years.
Look up videos. I got this bungee jump.
Friday it'll be 10 years.
Don't
Tone.
watch the bungee jump anymore.
So Friday it'll be 10 years. You always find a way to just get me to start saying we're moving
for it to
on.
be a bungee jump. This was more of a jump.
Yeah, you can't just call it that. Yeah, there's got to be something attached there. But so you always find a way, man. And now here I am humming over here. when they brought the trophy around in 2016, they brought it here and we got our picture taken with it. I remember I wouldn't touch the trophy. And you thought it was weird I wouldn't touch the trophy. And I said, well, I didn't win it. I don't deserve to touch the trophy. It's not my organization. I don't work for the organization, and I didn't play on the basketball team.
If you were a professional basketball player, I could understand that. You're not. You're just.
But I didn't help them earn it. It's their trophy. Like, I don't think I should get to touch something that's not won by me, not inherently mine.
Okay, I got a great question, though. What do you think of a bunch of the... You had different ways that you could purchase the championship ring.
Okay.
Your version of the ring. You weren't getting the same ring they were.
There were different levels,
but
though,
there
too.
were levels. Like, and there were employees over at the Cavs.
Yes.
That received championship rings.
I got one.
Again, not the same ring.
Correct.
But, and then weren't there levels?
There were levels.
Yes.
And, I got one. Jeff got one. His is much nicer than mine.
Oh.
He was much more involved with the team than I was. I was a very, 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 very minute part of it.
Still got a ring, though. That's pretty cool.
So do you feel the same way about wearing the ring as compared to kissing the trophy?
Well, I think it's a fun... Like, if Owen brought his ring in here and just wore it around, I think it'd be a nice conversation piece. But I think if Owen started talking about the blood, sweat, and sacrifice that he had for the Cavs to come back from 3-1 in that series, I think we'd be laughing behind his back.
Hey, I played some of those fan watch parties over there at the Q.
Yeah, we'd be laughing.
The crowd up.
Of course.
We'd be laughing.
Now, the team was actually in a different state, in a different city, in a different time zone. But
I heard it got back to them.
Of course, they knew.
They said, wow, they played
said, who
that
was
song?
playing that Pitbull song again and again?
You got him going. You got him worked up.
Who played that Gary Glitter song? Oh, you can't. They
but
took
you
that
just
out of
don't.
the
Wait a minute. But did you? So you think it's weird if I don't touch the trophy?
No.
Like if the Browns won the Super Bowl, I know I'm technically part of the broadcast, but I'm not Andrew or Nathan, so I'm not touching it. Gerard too. I'm not. Gerard's won Super Bowls before.
But you're going to be on like 6 hours before that Super Bowl. Like leading up to it, you're going to be all over that.
They might wheel.
You should be touching that trophy.
They might wheel the trophy out.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
beforehand.
not. You said before that Super Bowl. I'm not touching that trophy before they go to the
No,
Super Bowl.
I'm saying you're doing the pregame.
Afterwards?
Of Super Bowl 60, we'll just say, 61's coming up. So Super Bowl 64, when they get there, right?
Yeah.
Like, you will do Browns pregame show hosted by Ken Carman. It's going to happen for 6 hours, right? You normally do 3 of the 4 hours or whatever, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, you're going to do way more than that.
And what if
you might do 24 hours?
What if the Vince Lombardi, the Velo? What if the Velo
That's
comes
what they call it.
strolling through and they're like, "Hey, do you want to get a picture beforehand with it?"
Absolutely. Before the game?
Yeah, you and Velo?
Before the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Not a chance in hell. You accused my son earlier in this show of ruining the Guardian season because he had a picture with Jose Ramirez on Friday, mind you, on Friday. Not before the game Saturday. It was on Friday. Can you imagine the hell I go through if they ended up losing 33-30 in the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 64 and I had a picture of that? No, you will not find me on by my own account. You will not be able to find me in the same room as that thing at any given
Could be
time
a moot
beforehand.
point already anyway.
What does that mean?
After what happened, I did you ask your son? I didn't even want to go on the air.
No, I'm not asking him that
with
question.
which son
What do
it
you think?
was, because I don't want the city of Cleveland to be going after a specific son of yours.
They don't need to go after
right
my
now, it's
specific
just all the
son.
sons. Right now, you can just go after all
They
of them.
don't. I go after him worse than any of you guys can, but it doesn't matter. It
Did
happened
you
on
find
Friday.
out what he wished for when he blew out the candles?
Well, it didn't go because the candles were.
So maybe he wished for health and longevity, and
then the
because
candles
wouldn't go
and
out.
and a DeLorean to go back in time to prevent this from ever happening in the first place.
I think you guys are going to be really frustrated that this doesn't take off like your other little schemes that you guys put out there to make me look bad.
All I know is this.
It was a Friday, and it was him.
All I know is this. We were a really healthy baseball team.
Right, I remember.
Then Ken got this amazing access for his one son. We're not going to say which
I
one.
didn't even see you. I was in the stands. I didn't see you.
Well, you're not going to see him. That's the type of access he had.
Wow.
And the next thing I know, the whole
pretty
team
hard to miss me.
goes down with a series of injuries.
Congratulations on all your
You're right.
success.
It is hard to miss you, and yet I didn't see you anywhere with the fans.
But they didn't do it in the same day. There was a whole other gaggle of people who got to meet them in the pregame on Saturday. So you can't blame me or my son or any of the party that came with us that day. Which, by the way, the people at Progressive Field, wonderful people. The ushers, outstanding
I wonder what
folks.
they're saying today.
What do you mean?
Taking money out of their pocket.
Oh, go to hell. Coming up in 5 minutes.
And will they all get... They would have got a ring.
Anthony Castrovin's going to join us at 9:22. In 5 minutes, I'd ask Donovan to take a pay cut in a second if I thought it would help the roster. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work on that absolutely free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima for Man.
favorite, 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app for all today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Castrovent's 20 minutes away. We're going to find out what's going on with Jose Ramirez or how much of an impact his injury could really have, whether or not this necessitates the Guardians trying to make bigger moves and stronger moves and quicker moves before the trade deadline coming up here at the end of next month. 216-474-0092. Also, I had asked Donovan to take a pay cut in a second if I thought it would help the rotation or help the roster. The rotation is a Guardians question. We'll talk to Anthony Castrovent's coming up at 9:20 about that, because you had wanted to tease ahead. I go, well, gosh, I kind of want to do it now, especially since Castrovent is joining us. The biggest loser of the weekend, you think, was Donovan Mitchell.
It pains me to say, because obviously I've virtually said, next to nothing in the way that people criticize Donovan. I thought a lot of it was nonsense, right? Like he's been the diva-free, awesome guy that has in playoff have massive playoff games. Has at times carried a team that had some flaws on it. And, he's just not good enough, right? But in the end, like going after Donovan Mitchell, we all loved it. We all thought we were getting a superstar. And he's been roughly around a top 10 player, top 12, 13, 14, 15 player ever since he put a Cavs uniform on.
Clearly.
With that said, here it comes. I thought it was a really rough weekend for him just because of who won the championship and who is being celebrated. And think of the history, right? It was always thought that Donovan Mitchell was going to be a New York Knick.
Yeah.
And instead, it's Jalen Brunson. And we've had these debates over the years, and basketball people have debated a lot. Like, who's the better player? Who would you rather have? And now it's Jalen Brunson, and that's the end of the story. Like, there's almost nothing Donovan could do except win a championship. And will he ever look like that? Will he ever have 45 points in a closeout game, kind of carrying guys to the finish line? Think about what we saw to Karl Anthony Towns. He gave him nothing. Bridges gave him nothing in the final game.
Do you think Donovan has killer in him? Like killer attitude, killer instinct?
Oh, I think he does, yeah.
I just heard so many people saying the thing that set them apart this weekend between Brunson and Donovan was that Donovan doesn't. They can both score and they can both do everything. They're compared to obviously all these comparisons that they've had. Their Western Conference time against each other too, that Jazz and Mavs series. But that Donovan doesn't. I just don't. I don't ever see us being down 18 or 22 points and Donovan being the one in a playoff game. I've seen it in the regular season where he's taken over a game and scored a bunch of points. It just doesn't feel like after the way that Eastern Conference Finals went, and then the way the 29-point comeback.
Well, if we're all saying that Jalen's a better player, then we might have to be just admitting that he's not capable of doing such a thing, like what Jalen Brunson's able to doing. Plus, I think he does have a better. Do you argue that Jalen Brunson has a better supporting cast than Donovan Mitchell, or do you think Donovan actually has a better supporting cast?
I think year to year that's kind of fluctuated. Like there was,
you're right.
There was the time Brunson was on the Mavericks and Luka was hurt, and they beat Donovan's Utah Jazz, and I didn't think that that Utah. That they were so much stacked more than like Jalen Brunson got it done then. And then they followed up the very next year, right? When it was the Knicks and the Cavs again. And then we saw what happened this year. Like, in the end, now we're all talking about how great the supporting cast is of the Knicks. But let's not act like, we had Chris Mannix come on the air and say the Cavs bigs had the advantage in that series going in. So it wasn't like we thought the Cavs had no shot against the Knicks at all. So I don't think there was a massive I think now we're saying it because they won the championship.
There's one glaring weakness with the Cavs roster right
The wings.
now. The wing,
the
right?
Wings, yeah.
Especially like Dean Wade's just not it, right? Like that'll never be a thing, especially the way that this is constructed. You can't have a guy who scores 0 points or 2 points. And even though his defense is great, scoring 2 points is not giving us enough at all.
Listen, it as tough as it is on Donovan Mitchell, like the one thought that I had, and I kind of got to walk it back because I ran it through you. I had an idea, but I got to walk it back. Like Jalen Brunson, he'd be the fourth best player or fourth highest paid player on the Cavaliers. So if you have the best and he's willing to take the biggest pay cut when it comes to the New York Knicks, is he the highest paid player on the Knicks or no? I'd imagine he's not. On the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, is he the highest paid player in the Knicks?
No, I don't think he is.
Because this all goes with it. I can't ask Donovan to do.
Towns?
I can't ask Donovan to do something if I don't think it's going to benefit the roster.
That's third here.
Okay, so he's the third highest paid Knick. So he'd be the fourth.
Making more.
He'd be the fourth highest paid Cleveland Cavalier if he were on the Cavs. All right. So then I have to ask Donovan, what are you doing to get your team over the hump? And if it doesn't have to do with saving money or adding to the organization, then there's no point in me making an argument for him to take a haircut.
I sent it to Cap Guru, does a nice job, real Cavs fan, and I asked, is there a number given where they are in the cap and they're in that second apron, which we know they're trying to get out of.
You said it this morning?
Yeah, to get some flexibility.
Damn, Sam, you got that working already.
And he basically said no, there's no. He says if he signs an extension this year, it would rip up his player option next year, and the new contract would begin then. So the impact wouldn't be felt until the following summer on any kind of a discount. And the only way you can alter the existing salary is a renegotiation that can only go up. It can't go down. So no, there's no a talk now is moot. It needed to happen, before.
And so now it doesn't happen. Now it doesn't help at all.
Yeah,
if he takes a pay cut.
And again, that's when you're dealing with. I mean, what did we say Dan Gilbert spent on this team this year? In the end, I mean,
then
people
why
were
were we even having the
300.
conversation last week? Like I was listening to Jeff, and it was 2 weeks ago. I'm listening to Jeff. He's like, well, I just don't think he's a $70 million player. If you don't want to spend $70 million on him, and you were getting somebody better, all right, who am I getting better than Donovan? Because I don't care about the money he makes if it doesn't help me. Like the whole Watson thing, you throw 230 at it when you throw the number about Watson because it's a negative.
Yeah.
The thing that really hurts was the 3 first-round picks. We throw the money out there as a negative because that's how you do it. Like when they're good, we've always said it. Nobody knows how much right off the top of their head some of the best players make because you don't care because they're that good. For Donovan, I don't want to care how much he makes. So if he makes $70 million, I really don't know what he makes off the top of my head because I thought he is the best player on the Cavaliers. Everybody knows he's the best player on the Cavaliers. So you don't think about the money he makes.
So look,
if he can save us, fine. But if he doesn't, then I'm not interested in saving Dan Gilbert more money. Who cares about that?
They've already attempted to make life a little easier and a little more flexible with the Garland move. From what Garland was supposed to make,
fine
and what
as long
Harden
as we
is
bring in
making
players, yes,
is discounted. But that's the thing; they are not right now they're not a free agent spender right now. They have to make moves to get there, and we're still wondering a lot about. There are a lot of rumors. I know our boss sent us a LeBron James trade rumor earlier today.
So then, what can we do? Because I can't just wave a magic wand and make Milwaukee trade us Giannis. I can't just make LeBron want to come back home when there's a million and now we have Golden State being thrown into this mix, which maybe they're just there as a possibility and somebody to keep everybody honest. Who knows how these things work? But I can't just make these trades happen. And I think if they aren't able to make those trades happen, a lot of people are going to be kind of down in the dumps about the Cavaliers going into this year, even though they should still be towing a good basketball team and should be one of the top 5-6 teams in all the NBA. They finished fourth this year. There's no doubt about that. But I think watching the Knicks, I don't feel terribly worse about our prospects of seeing the Knicks and what they did and comparing them to us. We just need to be able to find the right mix of players. I think we're obviously close. That's why people are frustrated. But I thought one of the major changes one of the major problems that San Antonio ran into was you have one team that's battle-tested. They've been through these wars. And San Antonio hasn't. They really haven't. So they were on this rocket ship. They get to the NBA Finals. Then you took on this team that was well-rested. Yes, they were well-rested. But they've also had so many battles in the postseason with their main player, with their core, that I think that is what changed a lot of what San Antonio was able to do. I just didn't think they were smart enough on the floor as compared to what New York was. And I look at their experience, I go, hey, we're right behind them. So let's not freak out here and blow the whole thing up. What moves can be made? So that's why I'm wondering, could Donovan take a bit of a pay cut? Okay, he can't take a pay cut, so I don't need to worry about that with the roster. What other moves can be made other than, well, if we don't get LeBron, then we're not having a season?
Well, it's funny, too, that, I pay attention to this stuff, so I understand if some people, why are you following the Knicks all that closely? But I remember last year, and Jason Timpf, who's been going on the afternoon show.
Well, you have to. They're very close.
Well, yeah, you got to follow the big teams. And Jason Timpf, who was on afternoon show kind of periodically, He said it, which has been totally true, and it's what I tried to say going into the series against the Knicks, but it didn't matter because the Knicks controlled us the way they did. But that, the Knicks, you said they're battle-tested and all that. They had one good series a year ago where they beat Boston, and yet their fans felt hopeless because of what happened the following round against the Indiana Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at that team and said, how are we ever going to get out of the East and win a championship if we have Karl Anthony Towns as our center, if we have limited role players like Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, and OG Anunoby is always banged up, and Jalen Brunson can't guard? And then what did they do this year? They won 52 games, and again, fans were saying the same stuff.
I understand what you're trying to say here, but I think a lot of fans would go, okay, that's New York, and still 9 out of 10 teams aren't able to do what New York did. Because for 9 out of 10 teams, all of those worries, most of those worries are legitimate worries and real worries. And for us, we have real worries. Now, we're not as nasty with our team as a New York fan is with their team. Okay, that's fine. But I still think we have real worries that end up costing us. We can't just say, well, the Knicks ended up doing well, so we'll end up doing well. I do think, though, that experience helps. I do think that there are moves to be made. But what moves can be made other than the usual 2 moves that we keep talking about? I'm like, guys, I don't think we could sit here. It'd be nice to have LeBron back. It'd be nice to have Giannis here. But if you're banking on something like that, I think you're about to set yourself up to be sorely disappointed for the realities of what this team is. I think some people are going to be pretty miserable when it comes to when the new season starts and what this team can do in terms of making moves and bringing anybody in.
I don't want to say that yet, just because I think the rumors are about to get...
The rumors are going to get hot, but
to another level.
Just because they miss out on LeBron or they miss out on Giannis doesn't mean the season's already gone to hell.
No, I'm not saying go to hell. I think that I'm not buying what Kobe Altman said during the post end of the year press conference. I'm just not buying it, because you got to remember when they were eliminated, Dan Gilbert went on social media,
Tone's like, forget,
and said we are not close to where we need to be. And then Kobe Altman got on in front of microphone and was basically like, I like our players, I like our team. We're basically going to run it back. I don't buy it. I don't buy that they're going to run it back. The question is, what can they reasonably start to do, especially if they can't get LeBron, can't get Giannis? Where are the...
Then I think you might have to wait until February.
Where are the pivots?
Which I think it brings its own set of questions and circumstances if you have to wait until February. Anthony Castrovan. Folks, Ken Carman here for the wonderful people at NEOFence.com, Northeast Ohio Fence.
weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows, and can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
It was a bizarre baseball weekend for our Guardians. They were going for a sweep. We did not get to see Travis Kelce throw out a first pitch, and then it was injuries galore. In a game, they beat Scooble. How about that?
Yeah, they beat Scooble.
They've beaten some big names.
They beat Flaherty and Scooble this weekend.
Yes. Some big names over the last week. To talk about that and so much more on the Weishart Right, We Make It Right, Call Cal Right hotline, we bring in intrepid baseball reporter and columnist, MLB.com, Anthony Castrovins, right now on the hotline. Anthony, what a bizarre baseball weekend it was.
It was. It's rare you take two from a division rival, 2 out of 2, and still somehow feel bad about it. And feel bad for Travis Kelce, too, because he didn't get his chance to redeem himself on the mound with the ceremonial first pitch.
Well, not only that, the public is devoid of, seeing him make an appearance. That's right. That's a travesty.
Yeah. It is.
Quite literally.
A travesty.
Yes.
I like how you did that. Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional, but you did it.
It wasn't. Not midstream, it became that.
It was. He made it that way. So what do you think are the biggest challenges to be losing Jose Ramirez in this lineup, in this organization here over the next 5 to 7 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. You don't want to lose your best player. And, he wasn't having a transcendent Jose season by any means, but he's on pace for more than 40 doubles and like 50 steals. So that's a pretty productive year all around. And, the challenge with this specific injury, it has a good recovery rate. It's not going to be something where, it's season ending most likely. So he'll be back for the final playoff push. So that's all good. But you just never know. Like anytime you get involved with stuff around the hands and wrists with a power hitter, you don't know how quickly the power comes back. So, he could be back in, as you said, 5 weeks, but will the power be there? You just don't know. There's just so many different outcomes with this particular procedure, and he's had it himself in the other hand. So unfortunately, Jose is now going to have 0 hammates, which is, that's better than having, no kidneys. So that's a good thing. But he is going to have to figure out how quickly he can get his power back. Last time this happened, he came back very quickly, and they're in the playoff push in 2024. But then, once they were out of it, they just shut him down as a matter of course. So, Gabriel Arias gets rushed back in the interim, and then, they have flexibility there with him and Schneemann, but it's obviously, you saw the lineup yesterday before it got postponed. It's not the same without Jose Ramirez in the middle of that lineup.
Well, and we're talking to Anthony Castrovins. So, you're someone who follows this as close as anybody, and we're sitting here giving the benefit of the doubt to a team that always seems to find a way, whether it's injuries, whether it's 15 and a half games back in July. It doesn't even matter whether who the manager is. Like, they are able to withstand stuff, but this is very different. So what would you put there? Did you think, what kind of a dip in their playoff odds do you think in the Anthony Castrovins playoff odds? What kind of a dip do you think it is?
Well, it's a dip. It might be like a 10% dip. The saving grace, of course, is the division. And, the Tigers just keep losing games. And every game they lose, the Tarek Skubal conversation increases, for the trade deadline. And they're always, you always feel like you're 2 good weeks in this playoff format. You're 2 good weeks away from being in it in this American League where no one is really playing at an elite level. But their greatest threat right now is the White Sox, surprisingly so. And anytime it's a young team, there's vagaries in performance that can happen, but there's also just momentum that can build with belief. And that's what the White Sox have going on right now. They've increased their power production to a great deal, and then maybe they get involved in the trade deadline on the other side where, they're 2 years out from the worst season in modern baseball history, and they could be in a playoff push. So that's very valuable for them. It's a very valuable thing that you might see them show some aggression in the trade deadline if they're still in it.
Anthony Castro. Sorry, Anthony.
I was just going to say, the Guardians, I feel worse about the Guardians and their chances that this was a major injury on the pitching side because they're still ultimately pitching oriented. They have some flexibility, and and depth in the farm system on the offensive side to just kind of piece it together in the interim. But I worry about this team more from, like, if they have a major injury on the pitching front, what's the reserve status down on the farm is not as strong as it once was.
Anthony Castrovich joining us here on the show. Well, I kind of wanted to know, how does the uncertainty with the CBA paint the trade deadline, if at all, for a team like the Guardians?
I think for every team, it's fascinating. There's very much value in this moment, because all we have is this moment. All we know for sure is what's in front of us, which is this 2026 season. Nobody knows what the future looks like in terms of service time, arbitration, free agency, a cap, no cap. Nobody knows. So all you can do is play the hand you have, and I'm very curious to see how that manifests itself at the trade deadline. The problem, though, is just that the American League is so clumped together that limits your number of sellers, one, and two, it also increases the competition, where so many teams are going to be reluctant to sell and eager to perhaps distinguish themselves in this field. So it's a long-winded way of saying I don't know, because I don't think they know. There's so much that can happen between now and that deadline still. Injuries like this, that set a team back, and prospects coming up and elevating a team standing. It's kind of a mess in the American League this year, where, as I said, there's no great teams. When no one's great, everyone can be good.
Anthony Castrovich with us on the hotline. I said earlier in the show to Ken that the difference between this and other years is, you've got young players that you want to provide a runway, as opposed to, there have been in years past where that guys basically in no position to really help the team. So you had definitive weaknesses that you could address at the deadline. What would you say those weaknesses are on this year's team?
Yeah, it's weird to be talking about a trade deadline and like the first thing that comes to my mind isn't necessarily, a power hitter, a bat. I would think reinforcement on the pitching front is probably more important for them right now. Maybe that is another starter. I know the rotation is terrific, but it's good until it's not. You're in a good position until you're not in this game, the injury rate being what it is. So a reinforcement on the starting front, a high-end one, would be really fascinating, because then you change the way this team looks, going into a short playoff series. Or maybe it's just another high-leverage reliever, or just a length reliever, because, the bullpen gets a lot of pressure put upon it in terms of the innings log, and you're very Cade Smith-oriented, he's going to have a rough patch at some point, so there could be value to doing that. But that's where my mind goes first, which is unusual. It doesn't go to necessarily a power bat. Not that they couldn't use one, but they just have more flexibility on the offensive front, and I would think maybe a little more vulnerability on the pitching front than they've had in some other contention years past.
Would there be any conversation to bump Rocchio around the lineup, or is he just he's staying in the 9 spot? He's wonderful in the 9 spot. He goes nowhere.
Well, they had him bumped up yesterday, in the game that wasn't. So that's an indication of probably where that's headed. And, that's what they're going to have to. The lineup's not going to look. It's not going to look great, with if the Lauder's out for any extended period and Jose's obviously out for an extended period. They hope to have Angel Martinez back tomorrow. So that seems like a short injury situation. But, it's not going to look as it once did. And as it did, it was pretty top heavy. We all know that. So, moving Rocchio up is obviously an option, because it's something they were pursuing yesterday.
Anthony, is there any thought around Major League Baseball, and this obviously would apply to the Guardians as well, that because of a potential work stoppage that could be looming, that could alter the way these teams are all operating around the deadline?
Yeah, I think it has to play into your thinking. Is the value of a prospect the same if the clock to free agency is altered in any way, or the clock to arbitration is altered in any way, or the minimum salary is altered in any way? These are very real issues on the table. And so, if there's a strong sense that there's a cap coming, for instance, does that make a smaller market team more aggressive in its use of prospects. I don't know. But these are things you have to be thinking about because you're always in a market like this. I mean, you have to be thinking of the next 5 to 7 years at all times. You have to be thinking every move you make is not just about the moment. Because if you chase the moment constantly, you're going to end up in a very long and painful rebuilding situation, which is something they've really tried to avoid here. I think to their credit, they've done a really good job of, they always say, threading the needle, right? Of thinking about the future while also being rooted in the present. But that means, you don't take as many big swings as maybe fans would like. You don't, chase the impact of this season and this moment as much as fans would like. But there are times where they've done that, and 2016 was one, where they really went for it at the deadline. And I think this year, if they can navigate this injury now to Jose, this is a big wild card. But I do generally think that this is a year to kind of chase some magic, because you don't know what the future holds. It's so up in the air that I think it puts greater value on the present. And I think they're set up from a farm system perspective to go and make an impact trade. It's just that, the trade deadline is going to bear what it bears. The market's going to bear what it bears. And as I said, it's going to be a seller's market because it's so crowded. So that could work against them ultimately. But I do think, like, in a vacuum, not knowing who's going to be available and when, looks like a year to go for it. Again, the other X factor just being, can they survive the next 6 weeks without Jose?
Anthony Kastrovitz joining us here on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Because there's been a lot of people like Lima and I know they're like, well, they're kind of unremarkable this year, and I'm thinking, well, I still think then they're ahead of schedule. Because do I put this down as this was supposed to still be a rebuilding year? I mean, when you got two guys who are rookies in that lineup and we're expecting them to try to contribute to victories every day, it kind of throws off the expectations of what they are and where they really should be, shouldn't they?
Yeah, but the equation has changed so much in MLB. It's just gotten so much younger. And, you used to look at a team like this that is, as you said, rookie dependent, DeLauder and Bazana dependent, and even more so now with Jose out. And you used to look at that as, okay, well, they got to take their steps and take their lumps, and it's a gradual process. And it's just not that environment anymore. I mean, guys are coming up so fast and making an impact so fast. And, you got to ride that wave for as long as you have it, because you never know what your pitching injury complexion will be from year to year. And so I don't look at it the same way as I once did, where it's like, like the White Sox, like a perfect example where they're so young in the lineup, and you think, well, this is a successful season no matter what, because they've gotten some impact, they've gotten their fans re-engaged, and this is a stepping stone. Well, why does it have to be a stepping stone? Why not ride the wave? Why not go get some pitching help at the deadline and see what you can do? Because this is the way the game operates now. You draft a guy, sometimes he's up there the very next year or within 2 years, and all of a sudden, he can change the complexion of your team in a hurry. And we're seeing that with Bazana. He's at the top of the lineup for a contending team. He was drafted 2 years ago. So it can happen that fast now, and there's no reason to punt on a season or just assume a season is a developmental one, because you don't know what the future holds from a contention standpoint. If you're in contention, you're in contention. Ride it.
Anthony, this is a big picture question. I know we're talking about the current Guardians, but Lima and I keep mentioning off season, CBA, stuff like that. How possible, percentage wise, how likely is it to get a cap and a floor out of this negotiation this offseason?
I think it's more likely than I even would have thought a year ago. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know how dug in the owners are on that idea. There's many things in the air with the overall the television complexion is a major factor in all of this. The next major rights deal is looming in the air as well. But I will say, I mean, they seem, as of now, they seem more dug in on a cap than I necessarily thought. And I know the players are against that, but also I think from a fan perspective, there's been a growing sentiment in favor of a cap, because you're looking at the Los Angeles Dodgers as a fundamental example of how goofy this can get. When one team just has so much revenue coming in internationally and locally with the 2 World Series under their belts. Go to a Dodger Stadium game and tell me what you're paying for parking. They're just making money hand over fist there, and they're applying it in both realms. I mean, they are so smart and so well built from the ground up, and then they can spend a ton of money on top of that. And you see that it does become a bit of an unfair fight, So, and then you got a team like in this market or Milwaukee, and you have to be perfect on all your decision making. And to their credit, they've been very consistent. But if the central divisions did not exist, if this was East-West like the NBA, I mean, MLB would be a joke from a competitive balance standpoint. It just would. The Centrals are what prop up all these numbers about, low payroll teams making it to the playoffs. And then the playoffs speak for themselves. When you get to the playoffs, I mean, it's 2 different worlds. When you have the Dodgers' depth versus a team like the Guardians and their depth, it's just, who you can plug in a game, who you can plug in a series, who you can, navigate with injuries and all that, all the crazy things that come up. I mean, we've had one small market World Series winner in this generation, and that was the Royals in 2015. It's very few and far between. So, yeah, you can get to the playoffs, but good luck advancing within the playoffs on a consistent basis. Good luck winning a World Series with a hamstrung budget. So I think fans are recognizing that, hey, man, this is not good for us as a casual fan, as a general fan. It's hard to argue against the salary cap being better for fans. So, that's a different conversation than what is best, from a fairness standpoint for players and labor and all that. I get all those things, but, this is not like union plumbers. This is a different world we're talking about. This is the world of professional sports, and this is the only major sport in America without a cap system. And I would be hard-pressed to argue that it's better for fans this way than a cap would be. That's a cap and a floor, to be very clear. You can't have one without the other.
Anthony, you're glorious. Thank you very much for the time. We'll talk to you again soon, friend.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Anthony Castrovince, reporter, columnist, MLB.com. Even with the injury, quote, this is a year to chase the magic for the Cleveland Guardians. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for Classic.
about to change with 92.3 The Fan. We're going local at 5 a.m. It's The Fan Warm-Up Show with Jeff Thomas. All the latest from the night before in Cleveland sports and getting your day started even earlier. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Says you got to go for the gusto no matter what. You feeling better? Are you feeling more optimistic, more open to making moves, bigger on making moves?
He did also say during the same interview that we sat in on.
Well, we interviewed him.
We
didn't sit in on an interview. We interviewed him.
That their playoff chances have taken a 10% dip.
Well, without Jose Ramirez, wouldn't their chances take a dip?
So how do we make up for the dip? What do we do?
He's not going to be gone forever. I did think it was interesting that they bumped Brian Rocchio up in the we'll see what they do tomorrow. They were planning on bumping Brian Rocchio up in the order, but they're going to have Angel Martinez back, it seems, tomorrow. So are they going to keep him at number 9? I bet they keep him at 9.
Created a force field around the number 9 spot.
What are you trying to say? Are you just trying to get through the rest of the show, or are you actually making a point here? What are we doing?
I'm making a point that he was comfortable in the 9 spot.
He's in the 9 spot unless the 8 spot is the last out of an inning, and then he's the leadoff hitter in that next inning.
Yeah, but it's still the mental thought of being the number 9 hitter. It's still
now the 1 hole's the 2 hole and the 2 hole's the 3 hole.
You're still the number 9 guy. You're still that guy.
Yeah.
And he felt better about being the number 9 hitter.
I mean, that's your opinion.
No, that's fact. He felt better about being the number 9 hitter. He's shouted it from the mountaintops.
But 9 could be 2 sometimes.
9 could be what?
9 sometimes is 3.
It is divisible by 3, yes.
Sometimes 9 could be like the 5th. I'd like to see 9 be like the 8th hitter in the order. So that means you've batted all the way around.
What the hell are you talking about, Owen? Do we have the Castrovins here? This is Anthony Castrovin saying maybe you need to go for the gusto anyway.
I do generally think that this is a year to chase some magic because you don't know what the future holds. It's so up in the air that I think it puts greater value on the present. And I think they're set up from a farm system perspective to go and make an impact trade. It's just that the trade deadline is going to bear what it bears. The market's going to bear what it bears. And as I said, it's going to be a seller's market because it's so crowded. So that could work against them ultimately in a vacuum, not knowing who's going to be available and when. This looks like a year to go for it.
I get annoyed with the whole, unless I can use it in my favor. I get annoyed with the whole, baseball's such a crapshoot anyway. Yeah, it is, but at the same, there's so many times where it is a bit of a crapshoot, but it's not the crapshoot we make it out to be. I think we make it out to be so we feel better about it. When he talks about the depth that the Dodgers are able to afford, and even the Yankees are able to afford, that we cannot afford with that depth, that's what we're talking about. And he crystallizes it, Anthony does, when he talks about small market teams, where the last championship of a true small market was Kansas City, and that was over a decade ago, for crying out loud. So I know that we make a big deal, and you and we puff out our chest on how much the Guardians make the postseason. There is some of it to where, and I'm not going to apologize for playing in the division that they play in, but there is some of it to where, they play in the Central. The Central's not as hard as the West or the East. Considering the markets that you're going against. Certainly not in the National League. We understand that. But you also have yourself an opportunity to make your team better and to be able to strike, especially with a CBA that's coming up that we don't know if we're going to get baseball again until this time next year. We could be sitting here in the middle of a quote-unquote spring training by this time next year. And so when you have a team that's in first place right now, I don't think you need to go out unless the deal is just too good. I don't think you can just go out and make a move right now. I do want to see how they react. I got a long, 10-day road trip that's coming up here that starts tomorrow. There's some things that we can do that give you an opportunity here. However, I want to see how it opens up for them to see what moves that they make or don't make. And I got to see how the schedule lines up for them to see how they finish off this
Owen already said
this stretch.
Toughest schedule ever.
What's a tough June?
He was he monitored the schedule last year.
No, it's the easiest schedule ever.
Right. I said you monitored
and this year is schedule. Also easy. 29th out of 30.
So when does
after the month of June, it opens up.
It's easy.
Yeah.
So we got an easy schedule.
It's easy, but
we're gonna win all the games.
But June is hard in June, and it's easy after that.
Our hardest
easy also consists of June.
It also consists of June.
Wow. Something to
And so the hardest part of it is coming right now. And it will only be that. It's already one of the easiest.
Yeah, but they don't usually play that well in Houston. At least not from my memory. They just always don't seem to play that exceedingly great against Houston. So I know that they're 7 games under 500, but man, I
think they swept them
in Houston. They swept them. Yeah. You're probably right.
They're really good. It's at the end of the year. They were playing really good baseball.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're not as good as they were last year, the Houston Astros. But I still don't like playing them.
But the Guardians are.
Yeah, they are. It's true.
I just want to hear David Shepard.
Yeah, really. This is what we wanted to hear.
All right. I'll get well soon.
Jose. Oh, I thought you said to David. I was like, what?
I hope he's doing well, too.
Shep?
Yeah, Shep Dog.
Shep's dog. Shep Dog's doing great. All right, we're back tomorrow 6 to 10. It'll be a big one, I'm sure. This is the time of year you don't want there to be any breaking Browns news. It can only be negative. Any breaking NFL news at this time of year is negative.
That's true.
So let's just hope everything stays quiet and we get accused of making things up for drama.
What if it's Dylan Gabriel news?
No, it's still not good news. You still wasted a third-round pick on him. That's not good news. Like, you could have got another player who would contribute to this football team. Instead, you have Dylan Gabriel. He may contribute to this football team, giving us another 7th-round pick to play with in the future.
What about the 5th-round pick?
Who?
In that same draft.
Oh, we don't. We will discuss him, I'm sure, at length at some point here. Probably tomorrow or the day after the day after. We're not getting out of this summer without discussing him again. That's for damn sure. Have a wonderful day, friends. Go Guardians.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.